Oh, we're gonna smoke some weed, baby. Welcome to the Irrelevant Podcast. I don't
God,
know.
I fucking hate you so much.
I don't know if I'm gonna make this the 50th episode or the 51st episode. I don't know, but we're into the next season. I know that for sure. We're into season 3. I'm joined once again by my friend Jason.
I think it's funny you're giving it seasons.
Oh yeah, I already have 2.
Jesus.
I mean, it's because the RSS kind of asks you to do it, so I'm like, all right, whatever.
Fair enough. I ain't mad at you.
That's cool. It makes it more like when they put it into seasons and then break it down. It's like, wow, we've done a good bit, you know?
No, I agree. We love labels here.
Oh yeah,
Titles.
yep. Titles and labels and
Compartmentalization.
yep, organization. Yep, that's part of the human experience.
Again, I ain't mad at it.
You are not mad at it. You said
I ain't mad at it.
right, right. I was right. Yeah, that's just an interesting part of the human experience, you know. Just the endless desire to categorize things and to put things in a neat order, right?
Yeah, it's usually the start of every war, but give and take, I suppose.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
you know, putting things into specific categories or people into specific categories
Well, like
and
that.
then organizing them.
Yeah, I think that was like is related to what I was getting at, but not exactly. I just mean like the we need every um like how do we categorize country flags? How do we categorize food? How do we categorize music and all these like random categories and stuff like that?
No, I agree. Without a way to categorize things, you'd have, you know, no way for people to fight each other on what those are. So I am glad that we do have that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just you know, how do you say it's just like the not the consensus because that's cringe. The consensus. Um, the academic consensus. Um,
Yeah.
it's just like the well, I would refer to it as the logos, which is like the concept. It was adapted into Christianity. Um, I mean, it is a central Christian teaching, but it was kind of developed from because a lot of Christian doctrine and theology was taken from Greek philosophy because they were trying to evangelize to the Greeks, and they were like, "All right, how do we, you- how do we not like compromise the Christian faith, but how do we make this make sense to them?" You know, so they borrowed a lot of like the Hellenic. I mean, a lot of them were ethnically Greek too, so they just kind of um they took a lot of the Greek philosophy and then it put it into like the Christian paradigm, right? So like you have the concept of the logos, which there's still a lot of debate on what logos actually means, right? Um, some people say it means word. Um, some people think it means fire, truth, order, um, just reason. Uh, yeah, or just reality itself. You know, just logic. That's where we get words like logic from. Logos. Um, I mean, obviously, it can be translated in different ways and in different contexts. Like, I know in the opening of the Gospel of John, the original Greek is "in archi no logos kai no logos protondeon," is in the beginning there was the Word, right? So it's translated as the Word, and the Word was with God. Um, and so the way the Greeks understood logos was like I said, it was just kind of like not that it was like a specific because like with translating languages we get way too caught up of like okay what does that word mean and so we need like a direct word to word translation for everything and it doesn't always work like that, right? But the logos was understood as just like the like the rational kind of way to like to see the world, and you can just kind of come to it through natural reason and just and thinking, right? And it's how things should be, you know. Marcus Aurelius, I don't know if you ever read like the Stoics or something like that. I know it can people like a lot of cringe people have kind of appropriated a lot of these things, and it's like the Stoic, and it's like you still don't get it, right? But I don't know. Like, are you familiar with like Marcus Aurelius and all that stuff?
I know of him. I don't really remember much about him, but damn, dude, you went like straight in off of a twinge of sarcasm. That's pretty funny. But I run. I do know that like I don't know if this is more common in other languages, but I do know with like ancient Greece, there's always a bunch of words that people aren't debating the meaning of originally. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's like that in other languages, but Greece seems to be the one that pops up the most.
yeah. Because like I said, it doesn't always just it sometimes does have a direct translation, and I think word in that context at least is a good rendering of what the text is meaning, but in other contexts word might not be the place for logos. Like I think the in other texts, yeah, like a more accurate interpretation would be fire, or it's like the light, right? Like the first cause, right? And you can kind of tie into like the Christian understanding of God and all that, and how it just kind of makes. Well, I guess in my paradigm, like you could see how that would make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the connotation of the word with all of the different meanings of it because none of
Right.
them
Yeah.
seem to be conflicting. So I mean, it. I guess it could make sense to roll with it. However, with whatever doctrine you wanted.
Right.
Logos,
Yeah, and that's why it
Logos Nigeria.
yeah, that is also where we get the word logo from.
I always forget that like almost everything is comes from Greek.
Yeah, it's Greek and Latin classics.
Yeah, Greek and Latin.
Yeah, like even like when you read it, when you look at a text of Latin, even if you don't know exactly what the word means, it always alludes to something that is in English. Um, like scribo, you'd see that, and you're like, all right, that looks like a scribe, or scripture, something to do with writing, right? Or like tempus, you're like, all right, wait, that's like temporal, right? So that has something to do with like time, like temporary. Tempo, that's like, okay, that's something to do with time or the weather or something like that. Um, yeah, it's fun, and also like yeah, the Greek too. Like all the prefixes, almost literally every one of those are Greek. Like that ended in O, like crypto means like hidden, I think, and then helios, sun. Um, techno means craft or artifice, and then you know,
Well, the ologies too.
yeah, the ologies. And you can see how they're combined and like mismatched. The
Yeah,
ocracy too, like a
pseudo,
yeah pseudo. Yeah, means like sort of coulda, shoulda, woulda.
sort of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a wannabe. Or what else is there? There's like I mean, it just goes on and on. It's so yeah, when you actually sit back and think about how much our language isn't really our language, you know?
It's crazy about them. Like if they were a prehistoric civilization trying to learn their language and their culture, that would be a fucking shit show if we didn't have any written things about them or if we have very few. Because trying to understand just the context behind their language would be insane.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because they actually I don't know about Greek. I'm sure they might have it, but there's actually a bunch of Latin texts where they actually, like make fun of people trying to learn Latin and pronouncing it terribly, because they have like a real like Julius Caesar wrote like a really good grammar book explaining Latin and stuff like that, because that was one of his passions. Um and he wrote,
What, grammar?
yeah, explaining like the rules of Latin and stuff like that. Um and how
That would make sense for him to be a grammar Nazi.
yeah, he's I like Julius Caesar. He's cool.
He's cool.
Yeah, and also he looks really cool too.
Yeah, with the curly hair and chiseled marble abs.
Yep,
Do
and
you
then
think he's hot, Will?
well, I wouldn't go that far, but I
You would
love
for others. I don't know why you wouldn't go far for him.
I don't know. That's beside the point. I love those kind of. I don't even know what it's for or what it's called. Like those feathers that the Romans and the Italians have in their head. You know.
The red feather on their helmet or something.
No, you know, like there's like the green, almost like a wreath that they put in their head.
Oh yeah, the.
Those look so
Oh my
cool.
god, what the fuck are those called? It's so irritating trying to like recollect simple words and just everything from the stuff that I've previously learned. It's so annoying.
Right, right, right.
Ah, fuck. I know there's a word for it. I don't even remember what fucking, what branch it is from what plant or tree. I don't remember that either.
Was it like an olive tree or something?
I maybe. You know what? Let's look.
Yeah.
What bullshit did they wear in their head?
Yeah, literally type that.
What bullshit did Romans wear? What plant did Romans wear on their
The
heads?
weed plant.
The weed.
They
Yeah,
had the weed.
marijuana comes from Greece. The wana is the Greek suffix.
Okay, I have heard so many different answers. Oh,
Laurel wreath. Jesus Christ.
okay. But where does
It's
weed actually come from? I've heard different people give me all these different answers. Some people say it's from this part, some people say it's just part. Some people say it's from like around the world. It's from like a couple different places.
I think it does grow in a lot of different continents.
Right,
I don't
okay.
think it's native to one continent.
Okay. Well, I know so people have told me that it's like from South America and then it's also from like um the Middle East and like Asia.
Yeah, so from doing a bullshit Google search, cannabis was attested to around 12,000 years ago near the Altai Mountains in Central Asia.
Central Asia, that makes sense. This is like the most
Yeah.
bizarro part of the world.
So I wonder when it came to South America.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, the recommendation. Now,
Oh, man.
this time, Jason and I watched Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut from 1999. The second Kubrick movie we watched for this show, and yeah, so it's about Tom Cruise, who,
Being himself.
yeah, for the most part. So it's about Tom Cruise being himself, right? Because I'm just gonna say Tom Cruise, right? Because I don't even remember his name in the actual. Because I just know him as Tom Cruise,
Yeah, I don't either.
right? So I think maybe his name was William. Like I really don't remember. Um,
Oh, I think it was Bill.
oh, Bill. Yeah, okay, it was Bill.
Bill, that's what it was.
Yeah. So Tom Cruise is like, um, he's just kind of like a nouveau riche, like New York doctor, right? He thinks that like he's just like he's the top, right? Um, and one of his clients, he invites him to their Christmas ball, and then a bunch of kind of, you know, questionable things happen there. And from there, he kind of is just like he's having problems in his sex life with his wife, and he slowly discovers an elite satanic sex cult. Now, Jason, what did you think of Eyes Wide Shut? Oh, and for
I,
reference, we both had never seen this before, so
yeah.
yeah.
I really, really wanted to like it. And despite Tom Cruise, like, I don't like Tom Cruise as an actor or as a person. I just think he's a fucking insanely ridiculous individual, which is usually fine for entertainment. That's not a problem. But for some reason, he just specifically irks me. But anyway, I actually thought he did good in this movie. I didn't mind him. But I like I like the camera. The cinematography was great.
Hmm.
The lecture. I like movies that have dialogue. I hate this like jump cut every fucking second, fast action, lowbrow, dumb shit that everyone does in movies now. Like the cheap one-liners. Like I'm glad a movie has actual good dialogue, but it kind of started out slow, which was it's all right. Like I can like
Yeah.
be fine with that, and it got interesting in the middle, and then it just kind of tapered off, and then the ending was really fucking dumb. So like I really want to like it, but I don't know. I don't know. It like it's. I mean, I can see how it's like we were saying how it's Stanley Kubrick's last movie. He just riddled it with fucking like action shots of all the women in the movie. So that was really what it was. Really just like a raunchy sort of like tease, I guess. Even though it wasn't supposed to be raunchy, but like there's just the shots of nudity were just way too long, and I don't know, like it. I feel like they really should have played the angle on the cult more. Like the whole angle was basically just following Tom Cruise being confused the whole time,
Hmm.
and it kind of just left it like that. Like they didn't go into the cult. They didn't have to go into the history, but like it was just only a couple scenes of the cult in there, and that was it.
Yeah,
And then they're kind of like fucking with him.
I so thought that he was gonna like go back. Um,
Yeah, something else. Like it was too long for what it was.
yeah, it is a slow burn. Um, because that's why I'm like, I don't think I would ever watch it again. That's really probably my biggest criticism with it.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I have like the similar gripes as you do, but I just think the strong stuff in this movie is like really, really strong. Like it does a well, okay, on this,
imagery was great.
yeah, yeah, on the like that, and then yeah, the cinematography is just, I mean, it's Stanley Kubrick, it's just chef's kiss, right? Like he is an
Yeah,
artiste, right? Um, like it would be weird if we watched one of his movies and that wasn't the case, right? And I feel like on the surface level, like, it does all of like it does the mystery and the intrigue like so well, and this the suspense when you're just this whole thing is unraveling, right? And it's really creepy and disturbing. Um, and I just think the movie does a really good job explaining how like the world really works, right? And how power structures work, and how um I mean, if this is how the real world, like how if that's actually the case, like I don't know. I mean, the movie does a it does a convincing job of that, but
I'm sure. I mean, there are cults like that. Like those do actually exist, but I don't
right.
know. I mean,
But if
I'm sure
there's
elites do weird shit like orgies and all that, but I don't
yes,
know. I don't know if it's the same imagery.
right, yeah, I don't know if like I'm sure that stuff kind of does happen. Yeah, they do weird stuff, but is if there's like this whole like global like satanic like conglomerate, like I don't know about that. Like I said, the movie does make a convincing case for it. Because it just remember later in the movie when Tom Cruise is talking to the patient and he's like, "Yeah, I was there," and then he keeps asking the questions and he's like, and the patient's like, "Well, what if I told you that that whole thing was staged? That like that's what like they were just trying to scare the shit out of you." Right? And then because then
Yeah,
he noticed how they covered up like a murder in the newspaper. Like they have the ability to, kind of like in that 1984 sense, like they have the ability to just like, snap their fingers and like some like this this thing is true, or or just it didn't exist.
yeah,
It's just yeah, I think in that regard, the movie's excellent about that, and how they totally just like skew our view of reality through like Hollywood and the media and everything, and you just kind of realize like how it's all fake.
yeah,
Um, I know Stanley Kubrick does that in his movies a lot because he really loves like criticizing like like the power structures and like the class kind of distinctions and stuff like that. Um,
yeah. But so do a lot of directors, and that's a theme that's it's.
but I
I
think
mean, it's a
he's
tired cliche at this point.
no, but I think Stanley Kubrick, that is true. You are right, but I think Stanley Kubrick, he does it in a way that's like really implicit, and you don't. like it's not just like obvious, right?
It is more a little bit more subtle, but yeah,
Yeah, and he does it in like in a interesting kind of nuanced way where it's, obviously
yeah,
there's other movies where it's like, okay, like really, like wow, like America is evil. Okay, wait, what's new? Like and that's just like through like the hypocrisy of the American government. It's like, okay,
yeah,
that's like I don't like movies or media or whatever it is where it's just like pointing out a problem. I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, okay, then what's the solution? Like it's just, oh well, this is bad. Okay, and then what? Like, what's the point? Like, are you trying to fix it? Are you trying to just say it's like I don't like I can't stand stuff like that.
yeah. And I think that's honestly my biggest problem with this movie and why it was more of a disappointment because when it was
Yeah.
getting to the middle part where he actually goes to the mansion with his mask on and go into this, this cult where all these naked women are around in a circle and they have their masks on. They have like the fake priest guy, swinging the incense bowl around or whatever, right? Like it sets up the mood, like what's gonna happen. Nothing really fucking happens. That's my biggest problem, and I think my main issue with this whole movie is that it's more of a moral lesson movie than it is telling an interesting story. Which you can tell a
Mm.
very interesting story with cults. You don't have to throw a moral lesson, and I hate that. I mean, obviously, it's a moral lesson is moral for a reason. You shouldn't go down that road, but it should just be common sense of karma, right? The whole fucking plot was that Tom Cruise found out his wife thinks about other dudes when he's fucking him, and that she had dreams about a guy that she almost cheated on with him. So he has to go out and get his revenge or to feel like a man again. So he tries to, every woman he tries to sleep with, it just doesn't work out. He goes and tries to find this mystical sex cult, doesn't work out. He doesn't fuck anyone else the entire movie. He ends up crying and then telling her what happened, and then the end of the movie is them walking around in a toy store and they're like, what's the solution? And then she's like, we gotta fuck more. Like, it's just stupid to tell a simple story about karma, right? You look for trouble, you're gonna find it, instead of telling an interesting story, weaving that moral lesson in there, but more about like what happens like when you get mixed up in a cult by accident. I guess that's my biggest problem with it. Like it had so much potential, but it just fell on that moral narrative of infidelity, and it was driving me crazy.
I don't think like I didn't really get the idea that it was kind of telling you how it should be. I think it was just I think Stanley Kubrick was just like trying to illustrate um like just the sentiment at the time because that's when like everyone was like going through a divorce um and just the kind of disconnect and like dissatisfaction people had in like their marriages and whatnot. Um, and it's just, I mean, I think it actually does a good job of showing like why it's all bad, right? Um,
But again, they leaned hard on that narrative. Like that's a cliched narrative. Like it's karma. You know what I mean? Like it's not a.
I didn't
I
think it
wish they would
was.
have delved into the storytelling of it more than just showing the events unfolding to like, okay, yeah, that's bad. You know what I mean? Like I know it wasn't that brazen, but still,
No,
I think that's where it fell flat.
but like I don't really think that that's what it was getting at per se. I think it was just kind of exploring like the kind of emptiness of like the like modern world and like the how it's just like there's no like it's just like nihilism, right? Like people just they don't even understand like they don't even understand sex or like they're like like the purpose of anything, right? Um
I mean, yeah, it's also nihilistic, but it was basically like if you ever. I mean, I guess you have to go through the feeling because like when you have someone that cheats on you or tells you something that makes you lose your faith in that other person, like it makes you want to do like you're either like really upset, really angry, you're spiteful, vengeful, whatever. Like it's a common emotion that most people go through, right? So it's like if you're don't give and I guess it could also be to nihilism too. If you don't give enough of a fuck, you're just ready to give up anything as opposed to work on your relationship after there's been an
yeah.
infidelity, right? And then it shows the path of what happens when you try to get even. You become just as hurt, if not more, than what the person did to you. Or later down the line, you become more broken because you're continuously doing the thing that hurt you. Like it's a common fucking motif, and I wish they would have just leaned on that. And I wish they would have told a more interesting story with the cult. Like they can still have that as the theme, that's fine. But like they just relied on that so heavily throughout the whole entire ethos of the movie.
I didn't think they did. I got way too more like I was much more interested in like the other kind of things going on and like the like like the details and the symbolism and like the actual like questions and like the mystery of like, okay, wait, has his wife been to the cult? Like, I was also
No,
really
I agree. I
interested in
wish they
like,
did that more. Is what I'm saying. That's what I wish they did more of that.
yeah, I see what you're saying. But do you think that she was there that night he was there? That's what I wanted to ask you.
Um, could be the way that they made her reaction. That could be.
Yeah. And then also I remember like when it happened when Tom Cruise comes home and he's crying like in the same exact way. I was like, wait, yeah, I think that yeah, I think that they did go to the same thing.
Well,
Was it at the
the
same
only
night? I
plot
don't
hole
really
that
know, but
the only plot hole that I can think of is that he had to leave early because he got discovered and his wife was already sleeping in bed when he got home. So that's the only plot hole that she couldn't have been there because he left early and she was already sleeping in bed when he got home.
well, I don't know. That's what the elites are kind of pulling. They're pulling the strings. They're
She
trying to
went to the Jewish tunnels underneath New York and ran home before he got there.
yeah. Also, do you think that some people think that the the plan of the elite was actually as Ziegler, the patient, who's like playing pool, uh said to Tom Cruise is that like, yeah, they were trying to get him the fuck away and, and scare the shit out of him so that like nothing leaked out. Or was it that some people think that they were slowly inducting him into the cult and he wasn't even realizing it?
I mean, the I don't think that would make much sense to induct him in the cult because he was just so opposed to it anyway. Like he was having just a hard enough time. That's why he was like, well, what if it was a charade? Like he went that direction. So that's why I don't think it's
Mm.
a slowly induction to the cult because that's not how you brainwash people. You don't brainwash them through reverse psychology.
But it's interesting, like just well, like I said, the genius of Jay Dyer pointed this out to me. How it's just a lot of the times, like the movie, like the characters he encounters, a lot of it, like you just it alludes to the idea that these people um were at the cult and that they were probably sent like intentionally by the cult. Like this whole thing is just totally just schemed and like just puppet mastered, right? Like all these pieces in place, like for because like they're trying to get him in, and they're okay. They get in the prostitute who's there, and then that leads him to this, and that leads him to that, and then he gets the into the costume store, and then they're doing like weird sex stuff there, and then that kind of made me like, okay, they're probably in it too. And it's interesting.
Why would they care though? Like what? That makes no sense because that's a lot of work for what? Like if I was an elite guy in a cult in a fucking sex cult, I wouldn't give a shit about trying to fuck with one guy. You know what I mean? Like that makes no sense. The whole point is they're trying to be secretive. They don't want to like induct more people into their cult unless they have some sort of influence or power. Then I could see that makes sense. But for a random doctor that they didn't want there in the first place, like that doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, I mean he wasn't some random doctor. Like he was Ziegler's doctor, remember? Um he was like one of his like biggest patients. And I guess maybe they thought like, all right, they invited him to the Christmas party. Like maybe it's time. I don't know.
I think that's far fetched. I think it's just that makes no fuck. Like I said, who would give a shit? The whole point is you're doing some like
I mean
ritualistic
these are
stuff. Why would you
insane
care?
people.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They left it on
It's
everything
the
on such a
elites,
mystery.
man.
Like
It's the
they
elites.
they they, they didn't even give it like the only introduction you have to the cult is literally people in mass performing rituals. Tom Cruise gets found out he's not supposed to be there. Then they start fucking with him. That's it. There's no other like they're not other like they don't do anything else. Like there's no more information on this cult. That's what I'm saying. Like they really left no. I guess they left too much to interpretation because like you could pretty much say anything, but like the movie didn't give you anything, and that's what my problem was with it. They just kind of really focused on Tom Cruise's you know not being able to handle his wife, thinking about other people while they're fucking. That was really the whole theme of the movie. Like all this other cult shit that felt just like secondary, and it was way more interesting. So it's just like, what the fuck?
I feel like, regardless of whether or not it was all planned by the cult and the elites, like all the people he encountered, I think all the people he encountered did go to the cult. I think that's like you would agree with me, right?
Yeah, but they didn't, like, it doesn't matter because it didn't, like, the movie wasn't set up that way. Like, everyone he could have met that night could have been there, but they didn't go with it. Like, they didn't, like, explore that. It's just like, oh, it could be implied. Like, that's
Yeah,
not
I'm
good
fine with that.
storytelling. Like, you know
But
what I'm
that's
saying?
that's
Like,
the point of like the story is that it just shows how like deep into like our minds that like the power structure like influences us and like it makes us like it just totally warps our perception of things and like the way we view reality is like all of these fake things, right? Like our news and our even our food is fake, right? Like all these things
well,
we
I mean,
consume is
yeah,
just
but
it's just totally fake and just it
the movie wasn't implying that, though. The only
I
one that
really
could do
think it
that
does,
is
yeah.
the doctor, the prostitute, and the piano player that introduced him to this cult party in the first place. That's three people.
No,
Like, that's the only ones that could have some indication of being part of this cult and fucking with him.
you don't think the costume person was?
Not really.
You don't think his daughter was there?
I mean, the
Just
only
look.
thing we ever saw of his daughter was that she was fucking like three random drag cross-dressing Asian dudes, and then he wanted to fuck Tom Cruise, or she
Yeah,
wanted to fuck Tom
I
Cruise.
I think those Asian dudes were definitely there too. Um,
I mean, I again they might, but it doesn't
but what was really
like.
interesting, but what I wanted to point out to you, was that also brought to my attention by the genius of Jay Dyer, is that if you put the subtitles on, you remember how like he Tom Cruise doesn't exactly know what to get, and then the store owner's daughter whispers something into his ear, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
now I know what I want." And then if you turn on the subtitles, she says, "You need I forgot what the actual name was, but it's you need this kind of robe." And he's like, "Ah, like because he wanted to like I guess he didn't know he had to blend in, but she did. So said you need this kind of cloak because that's the one everyone else was wearing. Um, and it's interesting because the actual name of the cloak I forgot what it was. I'm sure I can just look it up. But it's the famous cloak of the European elite, right? But I just think like the fact that she knew that, um, that's a very big indication that I don't know if her dad was, but I think at least her the
so that's only in the subtitles you could hear that.
yeah, I thought that was a neat touch, but even so, I just thought the fact that she was like whispering something to him was kind of it's kind of interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the premise of like, yeah, everyone you know could be in a cult. Like, I guess because I just know that, that's not like super interesting to me. So I'd rather see that unfold because cults are inherently creepy in the way they brainwash people and the way their behavior acts
Hmm.
differently. So slowly, like if he was slowly realizing that everyone else was in the cult that he knew, like that would have been more interesting than like these people acting normal. But yeah, the thought of them being in this cult is like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just everything about it just falls flat. The way they talk about cults and discuss cults in this movie because they can be such a fascinating, creepy, thrilling, mystery involved thing that you can tell a story about. And I don't think the movie was focused on that. It really was focused on, like I said, the Tom Cruise and his journey of infidelity. Like, I don't know, like
I think if
I,
they,
I just missed.
I can see what you're saying about the Tom Cruise kind of marriage problem plot, but I think the way that the cult was actually depicted, I feel like if it did go in the way that you were talking about, that would have just been more cheesy and just unconvincing. Whereas I just feel like that because there was just this like like dark, ominous, like implicit kind of creepiness to like the cult and just like the tone of the movie throughout just really resonated more. Um, and I just really felt that that was more like cultish than if like it was actually depicted as, and it actually went into more details. I just feel like the fact that we didn't know was was more interesting. I mean, also you can, um, I mean, would I have come to these conclusions on my own? Probably not, because I'm not that smart. But Jay Dyer actually, I really think you should watch his video. He points out a lot of these like really bizarre, like esoteric symbols throughout the movie and stuff, and then all of Stanley Kubrick's movies. And also uh brings up how a lot of the way the cult um is how like Freemason rituals would happen. Like the blindfolded guy playing the organ, um and like the it's like the anti-mass, like the it's just it's like the anti-Catholicism, right? um and like you can see on the, remember like the leader was like wearing the red, um he was wearing red, right? You could see on the chair he sat on there was like two eagles, right? And that's like brings up the Freemason philosophical concept of dualism, which is that like the essence of reality is like it rests on the eternal dialectic of like, like life is like good and evil or up and down or yin and yang and stuff like that is it's found in a lot of
Just do concept of duality.
yeah, it's in a lot of Eastern philosophy. It's like the philosophy of Star Wars, like the light and dark and stuff like that.
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and just other just really bizarre thing, like just in the tapestries and like the paintings in Tom Cruise's house and stuff like that. Um, and it's also really interesting how the cult leader had a British accent, and that just kind of like alludes to the like
They're all British villains. It's like every movie.
no, but oh, I mean, I didn't even really think about that, but it just how it just alludes to like it's like upstate New York, this weird sex cult, and it's like the Anglo-American empire just kind of like world order, like he represents that, like with the Freemasonry and his a weird anti-Catholic like sex cult and all that.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I watch movies, I don't look at the symbology and all the extra stuff in it because I'm just trying to focus on. I'm more interested in like the story than the behind the scenes subconscious shit that people try to throw in movies. But it is interesting to see. I mean, it would make sense because Freemasons have been, accused of every conspiratorial act known to man since the Crusades. But they weren't. Like, do you think they're inherently not Catholic?
Mm,
So I
yeah,
thought they started as like as like Knights Templars for the Vatican.
I mean during the Crusade times, but just like what it is, like what it became in like the I don't know, it was the 15th or 16th century on, like yes, they are like by definition anti-Catholic.
It's funny. I looked on their website, and apparently it's not so secret. You just pay fucking $100 or whatever, and you join, and then you just do charity stuff. But in their rules, they're like you don't have to believe in any specific religion, but you do have to believe in a higher power. So you can swear on whatever book, like Bible, Quran, Torah, whatever you want.
Yeah, they're not a religion. Um
Yeah,
they were just kind of like a, not exactly a secret society by definition. I
more of a
mean,
philosophy. Like when I've read
yeah,
some of their
it's kind of like a naturalistic, um like deistic view of the world. Um
yeah, it's more of like modern Gnosticism. Well, not modern. It's more of like Eastern philosophy kind of mixed together with to one kind of
yeah.
sort of philosophy.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
They always mention like a grand architect and leading yourself with moral character, and that's like a lot of esoteric theologies. Basically, there's truth in every single religion, and the concept of God is just your elevated consciousness, and the concept of Satan is your ego. So it's like you got to commit the ego death to live a better life. Got to raise your consciousness. So if you waste this life, you won't be so kind in the next sort of deal. So they have some of those principles weaved into their doctrines. So some of it's kind of fascinating. Some of it's just fraternal bullshit. Who gives a fuck? Little handshakes and sneaky things like whatever.
mhm. Yeah, but yes, but no, they're explicitly anti-Catholic.
How are they explicitly anti-Catholic?
I mean, have you not seen like the history of what they've done and like what they've said and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's up for debate, and people argue back and forth about what they actually do and what their actual beliefs are and all that shit because there's been so much secrecy behind them for some odd reason.
I mean, it's because at the top level they worship the devil.
I don't know. I mean,
Like
I guess like
I don't
with
even
every
think
sort
that
of power
that's
group in the
like I don't even think that's like up for debate anymore.
what that they worship the devil at the highest level.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say the same thing about like most of these other kind of cultish things and secret societies, like the Scientology and all of it. Yeah.
But like from what I've like I guess like for a regular person like joining their little lodge or whatever, I don't think you're gonna like you're just it's a bunch of boomers telling fucking stories and you like eat dinner once a week and you do your little handshakes or whatever and then you're good to go.
I mean,
So
maybe,
I don't
but
know.
like, you're not always that lucky.
I don't know. I just think it's people trying to be more self-important than they actually are and they try to believe in already older ancient religious philosophies mixed into one thing and it makes them feel smarter. So like you could achieve the same goal by just, trying to learn and solve problems in your everyday life and try to live as virtuous as you can. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's basic human principles that people have said a million times over for thousands of years, and they have to make it into a secret organization. Think they're protecting some ancient knowledge. Like if the Freemasons had some like thing that could defy physics, or they had some sort of alchemy or herbal medicine, like actually insanely valuable ancient knowledge, then sure. But if it's just like a bunch of philosophies and fraternal stuff, who gives a fuck?
I mean, they do technically because a lot of like the way we think of science now came out of like Masonic lodges and ideas and stuff like that. Um, I don't know if Descartes was a Freemason himself, but he spent a lot of time with them, and he because that's a lot of what it was. It was just guys just come in a lodge and just start talking about things that you can't necessarily talk about in the in like the public domain. That's why they have like an animosity towards Catholicism. Um, just because in Catholic society there was just certain things that you couldn't talk about, and that's where like the ideas of like like the freedoms and the rights, a lot of the stuff that inspired the American Revolution and stuff like that, and like freedom of speech, all that. Um, that's that's one of the reasons why they were like they had animosity towards Catholicism. And also then like the Protest that it was like right after the Protestant Reformation, right? And I know the Freemasons are kind of different in country to country, right? But like where they come from is like England directly post Reformation, right? Um,
Well, Scottish, like the Scottish Rite.
that's part of it, yeah.
I don't know.
Um, yeah, and you have to I know you like part of the initiation because I know that there's like 24 different levels or some shit of how high you can be in the Freemasons. So I guess like what you're saying about like you're just some dude who goes to like a lodge and hears some boomer hears stories. I'm sure that's true of like the really low levels, right? But then like the more you like climb the ranks and stuff like that, I forget at what point, but at some point um you have to take like a dummy and it has like the Pope's mitre on it and you have to like stab a sword through it or like a spear or something just to like reject like papal control and stuff like that. Um
I kind of want to join to see if that's what goes down.
right.
I just want to see it for myself. I'm tired of people telling me what the fucking shit is, and there's so secretive for no reasons. Like, is it really worth that much secrecy to protect basic fucking knowledge? I don't know. I don't think they have such riveting information in the modern world. You know what I mean? Maybe back in the day, but I don't think now.
I mean most of the
Especially like how I know that is because a lot of U.S. presidents were Freemasons, and if I know
mm,
anything about American politics, it's fucking all made up. It's
yeah,
bullshit.
right, like Freemason.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like all of these fucking groups take basic philosophies that you should just adhere to, and then bastardize it into just rhetoric. And I don't know. I think a lot. I've read some of their stuff, like I said, the principles are interesting and should be stuff you should follow. But again, I don't know what their rituals are. I don't know what they actually believe. Like I don't know, dude. Like it's all fucking stupid. All like most fraternal things are dumb to me. Or organized group tank thinks like they're all fucking stupid.
Yeah. They also influenced like the KKK in the way they thought a lot. Um, and that ties in with the anti-Catholicism because like the Freemasons were like super anti like private education, right? Um, that's why they hated like
They were anti-private education.
yeah, they hated like that's why they hated the Jews and the Catholics. For
That's very confusing because they're so secretive. You feel like they would love private education because they make their own dumb schools.
well, no, not like they just thought like like society as a whole like should like we should all adhere by like the same like like the state administered education because we're all like for the same country. They just thought I mean, yeah, I'd like to think it's more sinister than it actually is, right? But I'm sure it was probably like, no, that just creates like like needless division. I mean, in a sense, it did. That's why they didn't want Catholics and Jews there because they thought like that would just like in America they just thought like they would just divide the country further and like for no reason. So like, yeah, we don't want these people here.
I don't know. I think it was just the common sentiment at the time. I didn't think you have to be a Freemason to do that. I feel like the Freemasons of that time probably just thought that way. But
To
again, I don't know.
you mean not a Freemason to do what?
To just believe in like hating Catholics or Jews, I think people just did.
Oh, you didn't have to.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think it was,
You didn't
and
have
like
to
I said,
be a
because a lot of high level
Freemason. You
people were
just
Freemasons.
well, that's what
I
I'm
think it was
saying.
one of
Like
the.
it's not like
I don't think it was in their doctrines. I think the people that were Freemasons just probably just believed in it. I don't think it comes from that.
no, it
But I
it
don't know.
does. I
That's just
mean,
speculatory.
well, it is in their doctrine that like the Catholic Church is like inhibiting their ability to like follow through with the Masonic mission.
Some people think that they're all in on it. Like they control all the major. I mean, just straight up Illuminati shit. Like they control everything.
Yeah, no, some people
Like
really are into that. Um, also like the um, what else? Like I'm trying to think. Like other than the
apparently, I have a bunch of high level Masons in my family on my grandfather's side.
yeah. They also like curse their children a lot. It's kind of really disturbing stuff.
What do you mean curse their children? Like
Yeah,
put curses on them?
well, that like unintentionally, but more so like they just like abuse their children and like in the puritanical sense,
Oh.
or like the Asian immigrant family sense.
The puritanical Asian doctrines.
Yeah, that yeah, um,
Quaker Oats rice plants.
yeah. I mean, to explain why they're bad, it's it is very complicated and it requires a certain understanding of like history and philosophy and whatnot because it like you said a lot of the philosophies are just like needless complications of just like repackaged eastern philosophies and
That's
stuff.
every religion. That's every religion past 6,000 years has already said the same shit that every modern religion says now. The same gods, Yahweh, all that shit came from older shit. Like it's just that's just how it goes. Information just gets telephoned throughout thousands of fucking years, and we've lost all the original interpretations of everything. That's just how we work as a species.
I mean,
So that's what
it's
I'm saying.
that's
Like I
true of
don't
most
know.
things, but I mean we still have the Bible and like all of the
Yeah,
other
but the Bible is
texts.
influenced by so much other older shit, especially like in the names and the words and everything. Like everything has been said before.
Like what?
Everything.
Like what?
Like the story of a flood. Everyone has a flood story. The concept of Yahweh
Yeah, because
before as
it
Semitic religions, like
happened.
I never that name is meaning God. Like it's all been done before,
Well, like
and every single like philosophy has like it's the whole point of it was you're supposed to elevate your consciousness, whether in any sort of religious meaning, as opposed to, cutting out the deviancy of your life. You're supposed to kill all that shit to be a more virtuous person. And that one concept is literally in every single major religion, minus the weird culty ones.
What of like elevating your consciousness?
Yeah, it's like
Not really.
whether it's
That's
like
a very Eastern thing.
no, I'm saying that principle like measures into Christianity where it's like you're supposed to get filled with the Holy Spirit and live that way to get into heaven or whatever you specifically need to do to achieve Valhalla, Nirvana, fucking whatever afterlife that you've been told that you're gonna get when you die. It's the same principle. But if you succumb to the devil, you succumb to whatever evil demons. I'm blanking on other bad shit in other religions, but the whole point is that you're supposed to like knock off all the deviancy in your life to not be controlled by that.
I
So like
mean,
it's all the same principles.
not really. Like that concept of like just the like elevating your consciousness and like filling yourself with the Holy Spirit, like that kind of came way later in like the Protestant Reformation and all that stuff. Like for most of the history of the church, that hasn't really been the case. It's just repackaged Eastern religion, like I said.
Yeah, but Eastern religions are way older.
So it's
Well, that's what I'm saying.
it's
That's where those
still
concepts came from.
like what?
What I just said it.
What? Like I'm still not exactly following.
You have to do something in your life to achieve whatever bliss in the afterlife, whether it's heaven, nirvana, if you believe you're going to reincarnate into something better, whatever that principle is, came from the original elevation of consciousness, whatever that fucking means and whatever bastardization that's been morphed into today. That's the whole point of joining a religion is spiritual growth and spiritual enlightenment. No matter what words you say, that's technically what it's doing. And there's also a bad part. There's demons, there's bad deities, there's hells, there's purgatories, and if you live your life in a way that lowers your consciousness, you're gonna fucking succumb to those, and then when you die, that's where you go, or you're just gonna be tormented, and as you keep reincarnating if you believe in that. Like it's those principles that adopted into the modern sense of heaven and hell, or whatever fucking thing you believe in, whether it's good or bad. Like that's the whole entire point of spiritual awakening.
I mean,
That didn't start with Semitic religions. That started thousands of years before.
no, but what I'm saying is that that's not even in Semitic religions. That's from all Eastern stuff. And like I see that what you're saying about like the concept of like religion is about, you know, what is like how do we prepare for the afterlife? Like what was before and what is next, right? But the whole concept of like how we do that, that's I mean that varies like vastly among different religions.
No, I get it. It's just the concept is the same.
Like what?
The I'll say it again. The concept of whatever you call it, you have to achieve your spiritual enlightenment. You have to achieve it by doing things on earth, whether it's rituals or whether it's ways of thinking. You
Right, and then we come to
like praying,
completely
for example.
different
Like praying is a
conclusions. Like
ritualistic
so,
act.
right, and then we come to different conclusions about like what is actually the essence of these things we're doing, and then it's not the same thing. I see what you're saying about like the point is like we need to find like the way, right? But the problem is like, well, now okay, we can agree with that, but then what is the way, right? That's really the
There is
question.
no one specific way. That's
Yes,
my
there
whole point. I'm
is.
saying the same practices and rituals have been borrowed from thousands of years before. You can put your own context on it because that's what your religion teaches. I'm saying the the whole entire ethos of it is the same while the practices and words are different. That's what I'm saying.
It's not though, because the only way is Jesus Christ.
But okay, how am I
Like you,
but you understand like the whole way of accepting Jesus Christ into prayer. Like prayer is a ritualistic activity, right? And it's in its form and its essence. It's what you're doing.
yeah, but
You can call prayer and millions of different things in other religions, whether it's meditating or Muslims believe in their forms of prayer. Like it's all focusing your energy on whatever spiritual deity you want to achieve that goal of bliss, nirvana, higher consciousness, feeling more connected to God or Jesus or whatever. Like it's the same sort of principle. You're achieving the same thing using different methods and different ritual practices.
no, but it's not just me like trying to just like feel better. Like that's not the point. Like I'm trying to.
I'm not saying that's the point. I'm saying like you're the act of prayer is ritualistic.
Yeah, but it's not just like all the same. Like it's like
I know
what
it's
are
not all the
you
same. I'm
praying
saying it's
to?
the same
That's
premise.
right. So then the
It's the same
question is,
premise.
who do we pray to? It's not, oh, it's all the same. It's just okay. You're just saying
Yeah,
what
people
is.
pray to different deities for thousands of years. That's what my whole entire
Yeah,
point is.
but you're
Where
just
like the
saying what
concept
is.
of
Like
doing
you
that.
can't. You're just stating what is. Like you cannot you can't get a ought from an is. It's like you're just stating, well, people pray to different deities throughout places and time. Okay, so which one's right? Like that's what the question is.
I'm not saying which one is right. I'm just saying the ritual act of prayer is a very similar concept for thousands of
Well, then what's your
years. It's
point? If
not.
you're not even saying what ought to be, then like
My
what is the
whole
point
point
of it?
is that religions borrow rituals and practices from all of these ancient Eastern religions or South Asian religions thousands of years before they came there. That's my whole entire point. So that's why a lot of religious sects have very similar ideologies because a lot of it was borrowed from those concepts from thousands of years prior. I'm not saying they're right and Christianity's wrong. My whole point is that they do similar shit. And why information is so difficult to get the original context for is because it's been bastardized and changed throughout the millennia. People die for it. People change the fucking history. People write down wrong shit, and because the other guy's dead, that's now fact. Like, that's just how we are as a species for a million, like, since fucking we were able to crawl out of a cave. That's my entire point. So like that's why like when people say like original, like there is no original meaning for, we don't have the original meaning for anything. It's all lost. It's too fucking old, and people have always gotten their interpretations of it. So there's no point in saying like one thing is inherently bad and one thing is inherently good because they all borrow from each other. You just believe that yours is the right one or the right way of doing it. That's what I'm saying. It's similar practices for the same goal for different words and different deities.
Well, the original meaning of it all is Jesus Christ, right?
Yes, for Christianity, the original meaning is Jesus Christ. I
Well,
understand
it's
that.
not
I'm
just
just
for
saying the rituals are
Christianity, it's
borrowed
for
from.
everything though.
Okay, so for everything, but again, like the ritualistic practices as not or like did not start with Christianity, is what I'm saying.
Well,
So
that doesn't prove me right or wrong. Like it
I'm not trying to prove you right or wrong. I'm just explaining like that's why I don't like anytime anyone ever tells me like their shit is the right one or theirs is the original one. It's like it's not. It's all borrowed.
well, like what in your paradigm, like would there even be a right or wrong way? Like that's
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
confused by.
I
Okay.
have no idea. I like I said, I'm not. I don't have the fucking foresight to tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that like when you look throughout history and you read ancient texts, you can see where a lot of modern religions gain some of their like prayers and some of their rituals that they do.
Yeah.
And I don't know off the top of my head. I can go compile a list because we have written. It's written. Like we have written documents for thousands of years, and we can see how they've morphed down into modern day religion. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
no,
like with
the
like
spiritual connection really is there and stuff like that.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what's being borrowed is the spirituality of most ancient religions morphing into the modern religions, and the original context of those has been lost because that's not how people practice it anymore. So when groups like the Freemasons come along and they take all that shit and they morph it into their ideology and their philosophy, and that like that's my whole entire point. Like everyone believes similar versions of the same shit. They just fight about which one is the right one, and that's why I've never subscribed to any of it because it's just people are fighting about the same goals. They want the same things, they want the same outcomes, and they fight for the different meanings and words and interpretations of them. And that's what my point is.
But do you not understand that like this is the Freemason view of the world that you're putting forth?
I don't know. I've only read a couple of shit from them. Like I said, I don't like the idea of a secret or society coming together and trying to just pass off their version of knowledge, and then the stuff that they're actually secret about, is it worth keeping a secret or is it worth sharing with the world? I don't fucking know. I just think the concept is stupid.
I mean, I think that a lot of just like the secret society Illumina. I think a lot of that's just like played up by the
It's all dumb.
CIA to like just
Probably.
yeah, to like
Probably.
distract us from like what we're actually up against, right?
Well, that's the
Um,
problem. There's been so much secrecy, so many lies, so much false truth. Like, that's just riddled. Like, that's just who we are as people. We're humans. We're fucking deceiving little fucks.
mm,
Like, we're not interested in really helping each other. We're really self conceited as a people.
right. But like what I'm really interested, no, I mean you're right about that. Um, what I'm really interested to know is like, what would like for you to observe, what would it take for my worldview or people that hold my worldview, right, to be vindicated? Like, what would it take for that to be vindicated? Like, what could you look at and be like, okay, I'm convinced? Or it might not just be one thing, it might be a couple things, but like what would it take?
I just have to see Jesus come back to Earth, or demons come up and we have to go fight all of them like in Revelations. I'd have to see that shit
Why?
because most people fucking lie, and I know people believe anything, and I don't want to put my faith in other people. So I'd have to see something supernatural or something spiritual for myself. That's really what it comes down to. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying I would have to see like physical fucking evidence of it
I mean,
because I'm tired of believing other people
I mean, you,
telling me shit.
I mean, you saw Jesus at the mass. He was there.
Like I said, it would have to I'd have to see him descend from heaven.
Have you
That's what it would take.
have you not seen any of the Eucharistic miracles before?
Like I said, I'd have to see this shit in person.
Well, why?
Because like I said, I'm tired of believing other people. I legitimately have to see it for myself.
Like,
And something that like couldn't be something that'd be really hard to fake. Like I said, Jesus coming down from the heavens and a bunch of demons coming and angels fighting together, like that's hard to fake. So I legitimately would have to see the end of the world for that.
but I mean, I mean, he already came. Like, he came. The apostles saw him. They testified this. They saw him resurrect, and they all died for it. And before they died, they extended their hands upon their successors, and they did it to their successors, and so on and so forth. And
No, I
it's
get it, but
still here today.
it still requires me to believe other people and other people 2,000 years ago. I don't believe fucking people now. So like I have less reason to believe them 2,000 years ago. So like I said, I would have to see miracles or something insane of my own will
Yeah, but you
or of
believe
my own
that
eyes.
Jesus was a real person, right?
Yeah, I do, of course. It's very well documented he was a real person.
Right, and we have all this eyewitness testimony, the history of people giving their lives for it. Not just people like, you know, like 100, 200, 1,000 years later doing it. Like people like that had literally eyewitness testified this and were willing and did die for it. Like people who saw Jesus and other people right after that, the church fathers testified before it. And there's also like the contemporary historians like the that literally were like, yeah, we saw Jesus down on the cross. Like I forgot his name. There's like the Roman guy who wrote about it in one of his journals, and then there's some Greek historian too. Like there's good reasons to believe the things I believe.
All right, let me specifically put it this way. I'm not saying God's not real, and I'm not trying to disprove Christianity. I'm just saying for me to fully believe in it truly, I have to see something like that for myself. Is what I'm saying.
But like, why though? Like how?
Because like I
Like
said,
what'll it take? I know I just asked you
that's what
that,
it'll
but
take. I've said that is what it will take. I have to see it for myself.
yeah, but then like you would already have to like know like previously the stories and right that, and so it's like, well then why would you believe it then, you know?
Because I don't naturally believe things. I don't like there's things that there's beliefs that I have and they've been proven wrong, right? So it's like even the stuff that I believe sometimes like I'm always careful to tell people what I believe in because it could be proven wrong, right? I don't fucking know the true story or the whole story, but I have a very hard time believing in other people's versions of stories because most of the time we're not even good at our memory. Our memory fucking sucks. Like there's accounts of people being very passionate about what they believe, but we empirically know they're wrong because they missed something or there's a lapse in their judgment. Something fucking happened. You know what I mean? Like I don't naturally believe other people. I have to have them show me something.
I mean
Especially
that's
like
fair, yeah.
with that's just like in life with whatever I do. And this is I mean it is a problem. Like I go too far sometimes of being overly skeptical and cynical of everything. So I'm trying to find that balance. But normally I don't just believe what people tell me. I have to fucking see it for myself. And if I don't have the aptitude to do that, then it just remains a mystery. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
That's fair. But I,
Like I'm not arrogant saying that it's not real. I would have it would take me seeing something for myself to change my volition,
all
as
right.
opposed to someone telling me something.
But do you think that Jesus is going to come back?
Maybe. I don't fucking know.
Mm. Well, I just feel
I think
like
if there was ever time for him to come back, it probably would be soon because the world's falling apart.
no, the revelation fear mongering.
I mean, yeah, shit.
Yeah,
If demons are really here, they're fucking showing their head.
right. I just feel like if a man claims to be God, the way, the truth, and the life, gives his body of blood for us, dies on the cross, 12 men see it, testify for it. They know the truth. They know that this man is the truth. They know that there's no other way, right? Because he literally says, I am the way. He doesn't say that, I am a way or the Father is the way or whatever. He says, I am the way, right? The truth. I am truth. I am the life. I am life. Like he is the source of all reality. Right? Okay, this is what he claims to be, right? So 12 people saw all that, heard all of that, and all died for it. Well, except John, he died. He was the only one who died of old age, right? Um, and so if Jesus said that, which he did, then he's either Lord, lunatic, or liar, right? C.S. Lewis wrote about that a lot. If he is who he says he is, then he is Lord, right? Everything's right. Okay, he's the way. Let's go. We're all in Jesus, right? Jesus is the only way, right? And everything's vindicated. Or he's either, you know, a lunatic and he's just batshit crazy. And he's just some like nut job, you know. Okay, we can forget about that. Or he's a liar, right? Which is like just as bad, if not worse, right? And it's just this was all a farce, right? Now, when you look at actually like the way he lived his life and what he suffered and how he died and everything, I don't think anyone would and who just gave up his life for us and right like just all of his acts of charity, the miracles he performed, right, like his mercy, his just love and his kindness and just all of the good things he did. I really don't someone who was living a lie would not do that, right? I think you would
I
agree
mean,
with me.
that's just.
And so
Well, no, that's assuming that that's how it went down. But like I said, and I guess not to play devil's advocate, but like, I don't know, like, it doesn't take much to get 12 people to conspire to do something. If they have a common goal in mind, whatever it is. But again, like, it could be, not saying this is how it happened, but like, you could see how it would be possible for them to bastardize the actual teachings of Jesus. Because, I mean, if one dude was enough to try to kill him, Judas, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be so far fetched that 11 other people would probably have the same goal. You know what I mean? Like, it's not far fetched for
mm,
other outcomes to happen.
yeah, that's
Not
true.
saying they did happen that
Yeah.
way, but like, it is a possibility, whether it's a low possibility or not. So you're banking all of that on that. I mean, that's the whole point of religion. It's your faith in it, right? That's the entire point. You're not banking off of logic and facts and evidence about something that happened so long ago, because most of it is written testimony. That's what you're getting. It's all written testimony.
I mean, you are looking into
So
logic and philosophy to understand more why you believe things you do, but also that is a good point of like there is obviously a possibility that it's just 12 people you know that think something sinister could happen. Um, but
it could.
the reality was that it wasn't just the 12 who saw it. It was tons of people. That's what really allowed it to just capture the I mean the world, quote unquote, at the time, like the known world, is because people
Yeah,
like
but they were the
actually saw
ones
this.
that But they were the ones that wrote about it, and they're the ones that, I mean, and I think you explained this last time. There's a lot of books technically written, but they're not. You said canonized. Was that the word by the church?
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
that the word? So like, yeah, I know there's other testimonies and there's other stuff, but like the ones that were actually written from the 12 that were canonized, like that is what it is. That's what Christianity is. It's from those 12 guys.
Yeah,
So
and
like, there's you can be other
there was all
like there's
the Jews in Jerusalem that saw it and they saw him resurrect and like they just They weren't all, they converted. The 12 saw it. Mary saw it. Mary Magdalene saw it, and they all went out through the world and just gave their lives for this.
Yeah, but you know that because someone wrote that.
But also,
That's what I'm
well, that's
saying.
all of history. Like we know,
Well,
we
that's my
at
point.
some point we
We
can
don't
kind
just
of
go off of
acknowledge
written
like,
accounts for history. Like there's been multiple times where we have written accounts of something that we have to like prove to see if that actually happened. And like I said, I'm not saying that to disprove it. I'm just saying like you have to put a lot of belief into those written accounts to believe in Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Or you can attest it to, you think God's speaking to you in different ways, or you witness miracles in your life, or whatever the extra stuff is. But to actually believe in like the tenets of Christianity, you have to believe the written accounts in the Bible,
right, and
right?
there's good reasons
Because
to
they wrote
believe
it that
in
way. But you don't have any other
accounts.
context besides the way that
Yes,
they
you
wrote it.
do. You
They
have
told you
like I
that.
literally told you. There's non-Christian contemporary sources like in the same. They're written in the same time that like attest to the same thing. Like people saw Jesus Christ die on the cross and resurrect. Like the Gospels are some of the like best recorded documents of the ancient, if not the best documents of the ancient world.
So was it from like the Roman accounts? Because who else besides
Yeah, the Romans and the
like
Greeks.
who else was there? I know like they recorded that they have the record of the crucifixion, but like they don't have a record of his resurrection, do they?
Yeah, they do.
The Romans do.
Yeah, the Romans. Yeah, because in that time it was like a mix of Jews, Romans, and Greeks. That's what like
So they have written.
yeah, that's what really captivated the world is because people did really see this and like and it wasn't just like some like like god from the pantheon, right? Like all this like Greek gods and all this stuff. Like no one actually ever saw that, and like Aristotle actually wrote about how he thought a lot of that was bogus, right? um yeah.
What was bogus? The resurrection or
No, like the Greek gods and the mythology, he thought all that
oh,
was just like totally bogus. um and of course no one had ever seen any of those gods, um but Jesus, right? Like people actually saw this and like were testifying this and like just were willing to die, right? They were like, "This is the truth," you know. Um,
I mean, yeah, people have been willing to die for causes since wars have been a thing. Like people were willing to die for everything. They're so passionate about. That's why people do die because they're so passionate about beliefs. They have to kill someone else or get killed for it. That's
right, I
how we
know, but
roll.
like for this kind of thing and like what they saw and what they testified, and like you have people outside of them that it all lines up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is what it comes down for me, and I want to be very careful how I say this because, like I said, I'm not looking at it at a lens of arrogance, like I know what happened or I like truly believe in one way or the other. All I do know is that like I have written accounts to go off of from that long time ago, and if something did happen that they don't understand, because that's also a possibility. Like we have a lot of written records of people thinking something weird happened with the sun or all that shit, or like phenomenon that happens naturally, like lightning that they didn't know what it actually was. So it's like I have that to go off of too. So like there's just that's why I'm saying it would take me physically seeing something with my own eyes than having to just bank on stories from thousands of years ago. It may be true. I'm just saying like I would need to see it is what my point is. And that's why.
Yeah, but then what would be good reason to believe in any written account of anything through this lens?
I usually like it just depends on how much evidence there is for it. Like and that's what I'm saying with archaeology. There's so much things that we just people just say what happened, and I look at it like I don't know if we have really the original context for this. I'm usually skeptical of most ancient things. Like the only things we have for the most part are like pottery, bones, written accounts, DNA, and sometimes we don't even have those, and people make guesses about what they did. And oh, is this a burial chamber? Is this a temple? Like what? Like you know what I
Right.
mean? People just make that assumption all the time. So I throw that sentiment towards everything, especially in the ancient world. But back as technology gets more advanced and we have photos of things now, or sometimes now we have audio recordings, it's even still hard to figure out what the right information is because all of it's people like people fake shit. We've done it for so long. Like it didn't go away and it didn't start. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I know people are naturally deceitful. So it's hard to figure out what the actual right evidence is. And sometimes even when you see it for yourself, you still don't understand what happens because you don't have the context yourself to understand what just happened. So like if I see, like for example, like I saw a video the other day of like these guys on a plane. They took a video of another plane that was flying past it,
Mm.
but for some optical illusion, it looked like the plane was just standing still, like it was like a glitch, just hanging in midair, just based off of a specific angle. So if I saw that in person, I would know what the fuck's going on. It'd be like, oh, it's kind of miraculous to me. How the fuck is that just, are we in a matrix? Like, what is that? So I don't know. I don't. It's hard to navigate life in general. So that's what I'm saying. What I like about religion, and most of them I think that's been borrowed, is that you can take all the virtuous tenets and try to apply that to your life. You know what I mean? To make you a better person. I think really that's its biggest goal that interests me. But believing in specific stories that I wasn't there at and I have no idea was actually true or not, that's more of a harder sell. More than, living your life in a specific way.
But you still believe that Jesus was a real person.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But then why would you believe that?
Because like I said, like actually like you said too, there's so much written historical documents and accounts of him being a real person and all the shit that he did. The
Right.
only part that is sometimes hard to believe is like the miracles and the actual like stuff you perform, because again that's stuff that we can't do now. So he's the only person on earth that was ever able to do that. Or I don't know if there's other people that were granted the Bible, I don't know, but apparently he's the only guy that's able to do it. So that's what I'm saying, that's the part you have to believe. Even though there's a bunch of written testimonies of people seeing him do it, you don't actually know what they were seeing. He could have had a food colored packet and then turned water into wine. Like there's easy ways things can be faked. Not saying it did happen.
In
I'm saying like it's not
33
far fetched.
AD.
Like water into wine. Like he could put blood in there. Did someone drink it? I don't fucking know.
Yes,
Like
they
that's
do. People did drink that because they talk about like like the intoxication from the wedding at Cana. Yeah, people did drink it.
I don't
And
know.
all
Like I
of
said,
these
I
things
have to
were
go off of those stories. I don't
yeah,
know.
and all of these things were written down by men who were literally with him. Were at his side, right? Saw
I
all of
guess like
this.
I just believe people have incentives to lie about things. And the fact that it was so long ago and the fact that like that's why I'm saying it would take me having to see it in person.
Yeah, but that's just personal incredulity. That doesn't have anything to do with whether or not it actually happened.
I'm not trying to disprove that it happened. I've made that clear like five
Well, not
times. I'm
just
just
happened,
saying
or
you're
that
asking me what it takes
that
and
it's true
that's what it takes.
or not. Like just like because you have a hard time believing that it is the way it is. Like that doesn't mean it isn't the way it is.
I know that. That's why I said from a millionth time I'm not trying to disprove it. You're asking me what it would take for me to believe it. That's what it would take and that's why it would take that for me is what I'm saying.
Well, then you
I'm
aren't.
not trying to disprove it.
Well, I mean, you are just not in like the I am anti. Just like you just take the more like I just don't know. So then I may as well
No,
just.
my what I'm saying is I don't have blind faith in it because I know people
Well, and I don't
have a
either.
dest.
Like that's what I am also explaining. Like I have what I believe, but I also have like damn good reasons to believe what I believe. It's not just like this blind faith or like a appealing to just like, well, you really think that these people wouldn't? I'm like that's part of it, but just think about who Jesus is. I mean, I was gonna say was, but like is because he's eternal, right? He's the eternal one of God. But think about like who the person of Jesus Christ was, right? What he taught about himself and all of these like just about reality, right? And then you have his 12 disciples who are all with him, wrote down like eyewitness accounts of these events, and they went out all across like St. Thomas got as far as Spain. I'm sorry, that's St. James. St. Thomas went to India, right? Like all these people like just went to the ends of the earth literally to preach the same message that their master preached them, right? Like you can't just bullshit.
No, I don't think
Like
people
what
are
would be the
okay.
point in dying for that?
I
Really?
think
What would be the point of that?
there's Well, because things aren't black and white, and it's been so long, and there's been so many people involved with it. Like, there's people that genuinely believe it and have conviction, and they think they've saw something or they did see something. And you also have mixed in together people that have very good reasons to lie about things, whether it's influence, money, power, ego, whatever the fuck, or they're just pathologically like it's not one or the other. Like my point is like there's just so much involved, and there's so much like
But what reason would these men have to die for this lie and in the earthly sense obtain literally nothing? Like,
I'm not saying they're dying for a lie. Well, my point is that like you like how do I describe it?
or
Like
like why would they orchestrate all of this all of this like conspiratorial thing and like just like make up this story like to gain what?
you gain some sort of influence. Like people make up shit all the time. Like
They didn't even
why
do
did anyone
that.
make up
Like
anything?
they didn't even get that. They all like you want to see how all those people died? Like get poisoned, get their brains bashed out, get their head cut off, get their whole body sawed in half, right?
No, I'm not saying the people that believed in it. I'm saying the original disciples that wrote the shit down, and that's just what it morphed into. Like I don't.
They didn't morph into anything like it was there.
No, I'm saying like the idea of people like lying to keep Christianity as a cover up. It didn't just like. I'm not saying that continued for fucking ever. I'm just saying like eventually got enough people believing into it, and then they're willing to die for it.
But
But what I'm saying
it
is
was
I don't
like that
think
from the
it's
beginning. Like
no.
people who believed in Jesus Christ and died for it.
But what I'm saying is like you have to believe in the like not like okay. I guess because we're talking about two different things. So like not like thousands of years later, a couple hundred years later, like originally, like to write down the story of his life because Jesus never wrote down stuff of himself, right?
Right.
It's all other people's accounts of him.
Who were there with him.
So right, who were there with him, but like I said, still other people's written accounts of him. None of it was his own written down words. And I get that most people back in that day, if they were scribes or if they told oral stories, other people that knew how to read and write recorded them and they tried to do it as accurate as they could. I get that was the premise back in that day, right? But I actually, sidebar before I lose my train of thought, did they ever explain why he never wrote down stuff himself? Like, did he just not want to do that, or what was the reason for that?
Um like why Jesus didn't write down?
Anything himself? Yeah,
I don't know. I
it never went into that.
I I guess it might just be because like he doesn't need to like he is just the truth himself, right? Like he's the word of God. Um
But he needs other people to write it down for him. Well, not needs to, but like wants them to, or doesn't care to write it down, so people can just do it if they want. Like that's the part I've never understood. Like, why did he have to have 12 disciples? Like, why did he need to do? I mean, obviously you can ask that question of anything. Like, why did any of that ever had to happen in the Bible?
right,
But like,
yeah.
I don't understand specifically why he had to have 12 people write down shit for him.
Well, the only ones who wrote down were Matthew, um and then John.
So out of 12, there's only two that wrote down stuff.
Well, no, there's the other people that wrote down, but out of the original 12, like Luke and Mark learned from John and what's his Matthew, sorry. Yeah. Like Luke was a Greek and Mark I think was a Jew, but he was trying to convince more Jews of because he heard the story from the apostles. I think that's how it is, but I know that the like John was obviously the apostle, or he was the only one there at the foot of the cross. Um, and then Matthew was also one of the apostles.
So a handful of people wrote down stuff that was with him. So I don't know. I think the
I mean, he never even asked him to. Yes. You know, it's not like he's like the eternal word of God. Is oh yeah, yeah, hey, write this down. You know,
well that was what I was curious. I was,
because
I
he
was like,
never
what was
did
the point
that.
of
Yeah.
even like why did they? And that's what I mean. And that's just to because I'm curious. That's not like a to prove anything either way. I was just curious of why that ever needed to be the case in the first place. But going back to my original thing,
I mean, just to give the account of what happened. I mean, it's like how people wrote books about, you know, like the Aeneid and the Iliad and stuff like that. Um,
I guess a better question would be: do you think he ever checked? Like, do you think like I guess he would I know if they wrote down something false because he was God, so he would have known anyway.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, of course, he was never actually on Earth when any of it was written, right? Um, I mean, yeah,
wait, so they wrote it down all that shit later? So they were with him, and then they wait till he died to write this shit down?
yeah. So well, obviously, he resurrects and he comes back, and they spend more time with him, and then he ascends into heaven, right? And then for a little while they just like don't really know what to do, right? You know, they're in like the upstairs kind of room with Mary, and then the Holy Spirit descends upon them, and that's like the Pentecost. That's when the church was born, and they just through the power and the grace of the Holy Spirit, they just knew what to do, and then they went out in the world, right? And they spoke in tongues, like I'm sure you remember that, right? Um, and then
Yeah.
from then on, well, because of course that was the birthday of the church. So then, I don't know how far after that the writing started, but um, yeah, yeah, Jesus had already ascended into heaven.
I guess here's another interesting parallel. So I'm gonna try to merge these two thoughts and see if this makes sense to you. I guess I'll ask you first to see if this even works.
Hmm.
Do you believe Atlantis? Forget all the fucking mysticism behind it, but just as a physical city back in the day, from Plato's account, do you think that Atlantis was a real place?
Um, I mean,
I promise this will make sense.
probably because like I'm slowly getting more convinced of like these cryptids and like all these fantastical places, just because like I mean a lot of it like it's alluded to in the Bible, and like especially with like the creatures and stuff like that. Like the Bible talks about all of these like crazy, like beasts and like like the behemoth and the leviathan and all these things. Like I really wouldn't be surprised if it was like do I know? I don't know for sure, but like I'm willing to believe it's real. Yeah.
Okay, so my whole entire point of bringing that up is the only mentions that we have of Atlantis is from Plato's account from something Solon told him after traveling to Egypt and the Egyptians telling him that that was their origin.
Hmm.
So most of the thing that lacks is the physical evidence. Now there's people that are trying to find physical evidence and taking Plato's accounts to try to, match different places in Africa and the Mediterranean to see if it matches his description of of Atlantis, right? But so far we only have the written account of Plato saying that Atlantis was a real place. So you could use the same sort of thing. So, but although I guess you don't I guess it technically is a little bit different because you don't have the original account. You only have a story from the Egyptians that was passed down to Solon that then passed it down to Plato. So you don't have the original records of Atlantis of that time. So there's no original context. So I guess that is slightly different. So,
Yeah, and like
but the thing is the same. Like you
Plato
have to go
wasn't
off of Plato's account of Atlantis. You have to make sure that's 100% right if you even ever want to find it.
yeah, but he was never at Atlantis. Like he never saw any of that. Whereas like the people who wrote the Gospels, or at least two of them, right, like were there and like did see all these things, right?
No, right, and that's why I made the distinction. I realize that they're two different
Yeah.
scenarios. There's no first original accounts of Atlantis. It's just a story that was passed down, and that's what the account of what we have, the only account of what we have concretely for it. But what I'm saying is, I look at that in similar ways. Like I don't like automatically like disbelieve it or believe it. It's just there's no other context to go around it because it was so long ago. So I would have to see physical modern evidence of that in real time for me to believe that it's true. The same thing with I would have to see physical evidence. Like I said, I would have to see him come back to Earth.
I
That's what
mean,
it would take.
you have all the physical evidence. Like you have his church, you have the Eucharistic miracles, right, and the saints, and like all like throughout like
No,
2,000 years. Like
I'm I'm saying physical evidence of Jesus himself is what I'm
I
saying.
mean, he was here.
No, I know he was here. I'm saying I would have to him being here and him coming back to life on Earth is two different things. So I would have to I know he was real and I know he was here. I would have to see him come back. That's what I'm saying. That's what like unequivocally it would take.
But like, how is like what I've given you not convincing?
Because again, there's just it's so long ago. It's all written like
Okay, but then
it
how could you
takes like
believe anything then? Like, really?
I don't believe anything of 100% certainty, especially if it happened a long time ago. And also, I'm not a fucking archaeologist, so it's like I don't know what types of really compelling evidences that I need to see. But like you can see physical. Like it also depends on what you're claiming too. Like I feel like to say that the Romans, like that was a long time ago, they had gladiator fights in the Colosseum. So like they found a Colosseum, they didn't know what it was for. It took them a long time to figure out,
No,
did
but
they actually
there's
do
we have
gladiator fights in this
contemporary like
Colosseum?
there's contemporary texts about that talk about that.
Right, there are contemporary texts, but there's also physical evidence of like the stuff like the bones, the animal bones, all the shit, the set. Like there's more evidence than just written account to prove that. But I think it's hard to prove that Jesus turned water into wine or he walked on water or resurrected. Like you can't really prove that. You just have to go with how many people saw it, and then you believe it based off of the number of people that saw it. Right? That's really all you can go off of. But that, like again,
Even if one
we
person
have.
saw that, that's all. That's like all I would need. It's not like I
I
have to do with
mean,
the number of people. It's just the fact that it's
well, if it was
people.
one person that saw it, that's easier to fake than 100 people seeing it. You know what I mean?
But the difference is not like these people trying to convince like everyone about something that no one else had seen. Like the difference is that like people that were around at the same time like also saw these same things, right? I mean that's why.
Yeah,
But
but
for the
like,
further you got away from like that area, the harder it was to convince people because they hadn't seen it, right? But like in like Jerusalem, that area, a bunch of people converted because they saw him literally come back. Like literally, he was there. He was there for like I think like 40 days, like back on Earth.
I don't know. Like I said, I just like
Like
you
what?
have to
This
also
is
believe like what
like
they're seeing
what
too.
will it
Like they
take?
might not know what they're seeing. I don't fucking know. My
Well,
point
do
is like
you
I
know?
don't.
You seem to know.
No, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't fucking know. I don't concretely know either way. What I'm saying is like just believing in written testimonies thousands of years ago is just not enough evidence for me to believe in
Yeah,
something.
but so there's the first
So I'd have
people
to
that
I would have to
were with the
experience
guy.
something in my lifetime by myself is what I'm saying, as opposed to believing written testimonies.
Well,
That's what it would
so
take.
the difference is that like people who saw him, not just them who wrote it down, but all the other people saw it too and converted. So those people converted, and then they passed down that story to the next person, and the story has remained the same.
Right, but even like so like you got to treat me with the same respect as those people. Most of the time, those people like they saw it for themselves. That's why they believed it. They didn't like read it and believe it. So like I would have to do the same. I would have to see it to believe it.
Right, but they passed it down, and they convinced some people, not everyone, but some, right? And then they convinced more people, and more, and then it's here now, right?
No, I get how shit spreads, and like the power of people in numbers. And I believe something like you can get people to really believe anything. That's why a lot of like that's why some people believe in a lot of conspiracies because it's sometimes it's just easier to believe it. Just depends on what you're talking about. My whole entire point
Yeah, and
was,
what I'm talking about
regardless, I would
makes
have to see it.
really good sense. Like, what
Look, man, you're
other?
just asking me what it takes. That's what it would take.
No, but I'm gonna explain to you like that's not a good reason to reject it.
I'm not rejecting it. That's what
Yes,
you're
you
not getting.
are.
I'm not
Yes,
rejecting
you
it. I'm just
are.
saying there is a realm of possibility where it also could be accounted not correctly or semi-true or half true or maybe three-quarters true. I don't fucking know.
Right,
I'm not rejecting anything
you're not
innately. I'm just
accepting it
saying I have a hard
ultimately.
time believing testimonies from thousands of years ago.
Right, so you're pretty much rejecting it.
No, I'm not.
Well,
That's not me rejecting
you're
it.
not accepting it, so like what
No,
else are
it's
you
not.
doing?
It's not about acceptance or rejecting.
Then
What
what
I'm
are you
saying is I
doing?
don't
That
know
doesn't make any
concretely.
sense.
What do you mean? I'm saying I don't know concretely. I'm not trying to prove to you that it didn't happen. I'm just saying like it could be a possibility of certain aspects of it to be fabricated because that's what we do for thousands of years. Like we know people lie. That's people die for lies. People continuously lie even though they know it's bad. We just do it.
Yeah, but like given what I said about like the character of Jesus and who he claims to be, and the people that were with him and saw him like saw literally all of this. Like, what incentive would these people have to literally give their lives up to something, to nonsense and stuff that like did not actually happen?
Because they probably didn't believe it was nonsense. Like, I don't, like, it depends on who you ask and who you're talking about. There's thousands of people in the Bible. I don't, you'd have to be more specific. I don't know.
You know
I
what I'm
like
talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about. Most people, it's harder for regularly everyday people to die for a lie that they know is a lie, unless they're a psychopath or they think that they can get power influence out of it. But for regular everyday people, yeah, they probably did believe it. They probably didn't think it was a lie. I'm not saying those people are
Right, and
covering
they
up.
didn't even get any of that influence. Like
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
they
those people
gained,
are inherently
like I
lying.
said, and they gained in the worldly sense pretty much nothing.
Again, I'm not saying that it's a giant conspiracy. The whole entire thing was made up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's hard to believe certain aspects of it.
Like what?
Like I said, the miraculous shit, the shit I would have to see in person to
Why?
believe
Like
that it can actually,
what is hard to believe about that?
because it doesn't happen on Earth.
Yes, it
We
does.
can't.
It happened on Earth. What are you not seeing?
No one can fucking do it now. No one can walk on
Because they're
water.
not
No one can.
Jesus. What are you?
Exactly. So I would have to see him do it. That's my point. I need to
But
see
he's
it.
not
I
here
can't
right
believe someone
now.
said. Exactly. So when he comes back, it does the fucking shit. I'll be like, all right, now it's real. But I'm not gonna believe someone else said that he did it. So then, like I said, that's just what it's gonna take. I have to fucking see him physically do the shit people said he did thousands of years ago. I have to see it.
Yeah, but
I'm not gonna bank it on it.
you do realize that Jesus also talked about people that didn't believe in any of it, right? And like the women with the candles. And when he finally comes back, and then they're like, "Ooh," he's like, "I don't know you."
Wait, what?
Like, do you not remember that parable
No, I don't.
with like he's like Jesus gives the parable where he gives these women some candles, right? And tells
Mm-hmm.
them to light them, right? In I mean, it's more or less a story to light them, because they don't know when he comes back, right? And so they don't light them because they're like, well, we don't know, right? But you know, if he does or when he does, then we'll light him up, right? And then he comes back, and then they start lighting him up. They're, oh, and he's like, no, I like you didn't get it. He literally said, I do not know who you are.
I mean, because they didn't listen to him.
Yeah. Well, it's the classic "Thou shalt not put thy Lord thy God to the test." It's like,
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't test him. I wouldn't like make him perform shit like a monkey. I'm just saying I have to be there and like and witness something. I'm not gonna fucking test
yeah,
it.
but it's not like, but like, do you not see how like it's not like I'm not trying to sound like a dick, but like it's not your rules, like it's his rules.
No, I get that it's not my rules. I'm just saying that's what it would take for me to believe it. I have to see it. And because I wasn't fucking around then, I didn't have him there to fucking tell me that. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to believe other people's accounts of him. I don't
Right,
I don't
but
fucking know the guy. Never seen him before in my life. So when I do see him, then yeah, I can see all the cool shit that happens. I'm not gonna test it. I just want to see it.
yeah, but do you see how if this actually was the case, how like you'd kind of be like fucked. Like I don't know how else I'm supposed to say it.
I mean, we're fucked regardless. So
Like you know the like I forget who in the Old Testament when like there it's in one of the visions of like one of the prophets like Isaiah or whatever, like they were just telling the story about how like the guy and like he's in heaven, right? But then his brothers aren't, and then he's like, "Can I please go back in time and like tell them what happened, like just so that they don't get to hell?" And then it's like, no, it's not how it works. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like I said, I'm not testing anything. I'm just saying that's just what it would take. I just need to see something in my lifetime.
No, but that is testing it though. Like you're demanding
I
that
mean,
like he answer to you,
no, I'm not demanding it. I'm just saying that's just what it would take.
so you are demanding it.
No, it's not a demand.
Well, yes, it is.
That's not. I'm not demanding it. I'm just saying for me to believe it, I would just have to see it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not demanding it.
But it did happen.
Oh my god.
Like what other
We're gonna
like
fucking go in circles, Will. Like I don't know what else to
but
say.
like what other like record, document, text is more
There is
convincing
no
than this?
record or document or text that'll do it. That's what I'm saying. There is no other written account. It's all written. I don't need another written account.
But then the thing, like give me an event, a person, place, or thing who I understand your criteria is like you have to look at like does this actually make like logical empirical sense and like is there good evidence like now that we can observe? But like what would be an example of that?
Like something that happened in the Bible
Well, in
that
in
would
anything, it
not make
doesn't
logical sense that I have to prove. Is that what you're saying?
no, let's exclude the Bible. Like what's like an
So
event in history, a person, place, or thing where you're like, yeah, that happened.
I don't know, like battles. I guess I mean we know battles happen because the only thing we have is written accounts. We have graves, we have fucking weapons, like we have how the language evolved over time, people merging together, how languages formed. So I guess like, but again, like parts of those battles could have been fabricated.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So like,
So I don't fucking know. It just
but
depends on what it
it
is.
takes faith in this case too.
Yeah, but I don't 100% believe. Like when I read something from history, I'm not thinking like, oh, that actually happened. I'm thinking about like, well, I wonder what actually happened. That's usually my first thought. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
think we
that's
have
fair.
100% facts.
Well, no, there's
That's what I'm
there's
thinking.
no 100% facts anywhere at any time.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't. I'm not looking at history through an arrogant lens. I'm looking at it through. I don't know if this is how it. I don't have 100% certainty this is how it actually happened because we only have. And how far back you go, you only have written accounts,
Oh
and
yeah, that's
sometimes you have physical evidence. So I don't. I don't look at it with certainty either.
yeah, I'm
I'm
not
not. I'm not putting Christianity under a harsher lens. I'm just saying that's how I view any sort of ancient history.
right, but what I'm saying is that if you look at it all through the same lens, which you are doing, then like you should arrive to the same conclusion as me. That like nothing is more better preserved, better like well documented, well like just passed down and just makes that same like the logical empirical sense, right? Than the gospels.
I mean, I look at it the same way. If it was that long ago, it still has the same amount of uncertainty.
But,
Like it's not different to me.
but like how does that have more uncertainty than like the Battle of Hastings or something like that?
Be- because they're all like there's no concrete like the only concrete evidence we have is us piecing context clues together that what would make the most sense. That's really what's how most like with archaeology or with anthropology, like you're looking at different types of evidences and you're making a general your word consensus to figure out what most likely happened, right? It's not 100%. There's probably shit that got fucked up. There's so many people that got involved. There's a lot of ways that people want to lie about things. They want to rewrite their own version of fucking history. And sometimes we find that out too. So it just fucking depends. I don't know. What I'm saying is like, it depends on how much of a long time ago it was, and how much evidence we have for a specific particular event. It's not a blanket thing for the entirety of history. It just literally depends on what it is, and anything past the past the time of fucking cameras, like it's just everyone's best guess and what makes probably the most sense.
Right, and I'm saying what probably makes the most sense and what does make the most sense is the Gospels. There's no other document throughout history that is better attested to, better preserved, better passed down than the Gospels.
And that may be true, but like I said, I still don't look
Well,
at it
whether or
with the
not
same
they're,
amount
you might
of.
just say like, well, okay, they're made up, right? But um,
No, I'm not saying they're made up. I'm just saying like they might, yeah, they're the most attested document. What I'm saying is like I still don't look at it with the same certainty as I look at any other historical document, no matter how well those have been documented too, and how many people were there as well. I just have the understanding that for thousands of years, the game of telephone, like you can't even get five people to say the same thing. That's why telephone's fucking a thing. Like even people in the modern world, they can't even do that shit. People get shit wrong. They spell things wrong. Like mistakes fucking happen. It's
I
just
see what you're saying, but that's just extrapolation. Just because like, well, they, like just like look at telephone, and then look at how like like communication is. I mean, yeah, I guess like if you're trying to pass down some bullshit in the telephone line, but like if this is concerned about people who saw somebody who claimed to be divine and literally asked them to die for them, right? And like all the other things I've said, right? And they saw him, and other people outside of just them saw him, right? And they all went out into the world and died like the most like gruesome, like atrocious deaths like you could possibly imagine, like to gain in the earthly sense nothing. Like what is more
well, they gained
convincing than that?
everything apparently. Like that would be true. Like that was what they were trying to gain. It's like that's what they in their minds thought that they were gaining. Death was just illusionary.
Well, yeah,
That was their goal.
that's the Christian view, but then like outsiders who don't necessarily have that view of like some people don't believe in an afterlife, so then they just kind of think of everything just like on what's happening on the earth, right? So I can see what you're saying about
But I
like
don't think
the
people thought that way. You're asking me why would people die for if they gain nothing? That's why they died for it. That's the reason.
no right, but then like if
I'm not putting my conjecture on those people. I'm just saying, like for me personally, I just literally need to see it for myself than reading written testimonies, no matter how compelling they may seem.
yeah, but like the point you brought up about like well, people always have the incentive to lie and deceive and to gain all of
They
these
do.
things, but they gain nothing. Like they gain no worldly anything.
It depends on who you're talking about. Like I'm not saying everyone in the fucking Bible had an incentive to lie. I'm just saying there's people
Oh,
that
no,
got a hold of them that
no,
maybe
like I
maybe
didn't
they
say that
changed it.
either. You're
Maybe
just giving like a general
maybe
kind
after
of
the disciples died, somebody got the fucking shit and changed some things. Like you have like you don't know how many hands has been passed down through.
well,
Like
who? Now
it's
you're
just
just
there's so
guessing.
many
Now you're just
variables.
guessing.
Exactly that's my point. You have no there's too many variables to know like 100% for sure. That's my point.
Okay, so then
I
you're
know I'm
just
guessing. I just said I don't know what fucking actually happened.
yeah
That's my whole
yeah,
entire
but then
point.
you're still coming to like the conclusion of that like I just need to see it to believe it.
Because it makes more sense to me. It makes more sense than to believe that for so long ago. It makes more sense to me to physically experience something in my lifetime.
Why?
Because everyone else like and this is me just like bearing my soul for a second, like growing up everyone always felt like the presence of the Holy Spirit. They always felt some sort of you know presence of God, or they thought that God spoke to them, or they always felt so certain that their life was going to go in a direct path, and I never ever felt that. Like it wasn't me trying to refute it. This is how I was raised. I grew up, having these beliefs from my parents, and since I was a kid going to church and all that. Granted, it's different than how you were raised in the church that you went to, but the whole concept of belief is the same. You may believe in different parts of the Bible or the not books. I don't fucking know,
Yeah, but
right?
belief
But
is
the
not
whole
just like believing that the bridge is there. Like it's
my
okay.
point is I grew
Okay,
up with
the
those beliefs is what I'm saying, but I never felt it. That was my whole entire thing. I saw these people around me feeling it. I
right,
never
but
felt
then
it.
you're probably just in the wrong paradigm then.
Possibly so, but what I'm saying is I've never been in a position to feel that sort of presence ever in my life, and that's not me like defying it or trying to refute it. It's just 100% to my experience. I have never felt that way.
I mean, it doesn't have to be feeling the presence. Like people come to the faith in like the people come to the Christian faith in a number of ways, you know.
I know, but because it doesn't make sense to me, and because I don't feel it, it's harder to get into. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not purposely
Yeah,
trying to fucking ignore it.
I see.
It's
Yeah,
not relevant to my. You know what I mean? Like I'm.
right.
How else do I put it? Like I don't. Like I said, I usually try to. I mean, I'm stubborn on some things, but I usually try to live my life with the best way wins. Right? I want to be a better person. I want to actually do things. I'm tired of getting taught things that are not the right way, or eating food that it's healthy today. It's not the next 5 years. Like I'm always trying to learn new shit. So it's like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not out here fucking just like with my head in the sand. So like if something makes
Mm-hmm.
more sense to me and it's applicable to my life, then I'll believe it. But growing up, I've never, like I said, the closest that I felt that one was when I was doing like mission trips and like the actual connection to other people.
Right.
Because I feel like when people have a spiritual experience, they're really more psychologically just connecting to each other communally, and that's missing in the modern world. So when you experience that with like a religious community, I think that's more powerful in itself.
Right.
So that's really what more I felt. But like just from like reading the word, like the words never spoke to me
Yeah.
ever. And people felt so moved and they felt so joyous and they felt so filled. They said filled with the Holy Spirit when they read Scripture. I never felt that. I thought the stories were interesting and I loved it. Like from a historical background, and I remember as a kid thinking, "Ooh, I really wanted to be there. If I could go back in time, I'd go visit and see all these amazing stories for myself." Right? That's what I wanted to experience. But I never got that, you know, feeling ever. If that makes sense.
It does. Um,
That's why it's just never stuck with me because I never felt it in the first place.
no, I get why. Um, but I guess I'll just end this. And then I think we could move on to something else. But I'll end this with um, just because it doesn't make sense to you, or it's hard to believe, or you never felt it. That doesn't mean it isn't true.
And I'm open to that. I agree 100%. I don't want to be limited to my experience, but for right now, it's just how the ship sails.
Yeah. Have you ever read David Hume
No,
or know of him?
no, I've never heard of him.
So he was from the Scottish Enlightenment. Uh, a lot of people kind of meme him now and how he was like the proto Redditor. Um,
Jesus.
he basically was one of like the forefronters in like the skeptical movement and the skeptical intellectual tradition, right? Um, he wasn't an atheist, even though like he was an agnostic. Like he just said like he was just kind of like based on like my evidence. Like I cannot conclude that he does or doesn't. I think it's just we just don't know. So he was an agnostic really. But he I even brought this up in my apologetics a couple minutes ago was the ought from an is. Like he is a like you know how atheists or agnostics, right? Like they like they don't believe in God or any objective standard, right? But they still make like judgments on what is good or bad. Um and like the problem is like they can't do that because they don't have any like standard to judge by, right? Um and like a theistic view, well, whether or not it's right or wrong, right? Like they have a justification, right? Like they have an account. Whereas like David Hume is a more like consistent atheist slash agnostic, where he concludes that no, I actually cannot I cannot conclude what is right or wrong from just like observations, right? Like he said, you cannot get an ought from an is. Like it's a non sequitur, right? Like um it's like he basically just kind of laid out that well, so non sequitur in his example is the classic you know 2 + 2 = 4, therefore the grass is green, right? Those things just do not add up. Like the conclusion does not follow from the premise, right?
Right.
So let's say that um the premise is um people get stabbed, right? That's a statement of what is, right? And then from that you say um and we should not allow people to be stabbed, right? And then he just says, well, that's just subjective because then some people would say, well, we should we should have people get stabbed, right? So you cannot like logically move from one to the other. Like you can combine them in like all these creative ways all you want, but at the end of the day, you cannot like logically get an ought from an is. That's just yeah, that's just how it is. He's even stating what it is. Um, I thought that
So
that was interesting.
the only way you could conclude that stabbing is bad is because in the commandments that says murder is wrong.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the only way
from
you should conclude that stabbing is bad. Is that what you're saying?
well, that's how like a Christian would kind of adapt it to their
Because I
worldview,
can think
but
of a million reasons why you shouldn't stab somebody. Like you can go on for fucking ever about the damage that it does, like concretely, as opposed to just saying you shouldn't do it and people saying you should do it. It's obviously like, I mean, you can make that analogy for literally everything that people fight about, but like I don't know, like
well,
I mean, yeah,
what
some
he
people
was
do believe you should be stabbed. I don't know.
yeah, because that's what he was getting at is like he wasn't giving his personal opinion on any of these things. He was just saying that like all of these um reasons you can give to not stab someone on the other side of the coin can just come and give all of these reasons why you should, you know? Um,
Yeah, but I mean, they might be full of like just what makes more sense, and more people would believe to not get fucking stabbed or not stabbed than more people would believe to stab.
right, but
You know what
then
I mean?
some
Like I
people would
just
just say, but then you're just saying, but then again, you're just stating what is, and you can't get an ought from an is. Like, okay,
you
more,
have to
more,
have
more,
something,
more people than not believe that you shouldn't be stabbed. Well, okay, then again, that's just a statement of what is.
but you have to base it on something. Like even like let's forget like good and evil, right? Or bad and wrong, or like everyone bases everything they do on something, whether it's religious or secular. Like there's reasons why people do things. You can't just I
No,
don't
I
know. I think
understand
it's
there
kind
is.
of
That's
redundant.
that's not what he's getting at. He's not getting at that people have no reason to. He's just saying that like like we're all operating from presuppositions, right? Like
No, I understand that, but like it doesn't like I don't, the reason why I hate these like philosophical debates is because like they don't fucking mean anything. Like that, like it just again
and you're doing
like
philosophy right
in
now.
the yeah I know, and okay, I guess in
It's
the
where we get knowledge from.
these exercises that we do, like in the case of stabbing, right? You could have five people give you reasons why you shouldn't stab someone. You can get 10 people give you reasons why you should stab one. If there's 20 or if there's 15 people on a fucking island and 10 people think that you should stab someone and they give you compelling reasons to, then it's just gonna like we know it'll develop into chaos and they'll all die eventually,
Yeah, maybe some people want that.
concretely. So there is concrete evidence and concrete reasons why we should and shouldn't do things. So we can't just leave it up to that. We can't just be like, oh, we can't just say it because other people would believe it. No shit. There has to be like a fallback. Like there's got to be a gold standard. Like our money's fucking fake, but it has to go to a tangible
Oh
asset.
yeah, the gold
And that's
standard
also fake as
is
we assign
God.
a
He's
fake
the
currency
ultimate.
to or a fake value to it.
Yeah, the gold standard is God. Like he's the ultimate. Like he's literally the source of reality. Like when he tells Moses, "I am who am," right? That like is literally saying my essence is essence itself, right? And he like
So
sustains all. Like he's all knowing, all powerful. He sustains our world and reality as we know it.
So in the context of murder, right? Did they like what is the like general like why should you not murder someone in like a biblical context?
I
Like
mean,
why does God say you can't kill?
um, I mean, because like it destroys the community. I guess like that's really why I would
So
say
is
that.
that what he said or is that what you're guessing?
I mean, he says it is wrong when like that is just sufficient reason to believe it isn't. Like yes, there is all of these like feelings and everything, but just mere harm. Like it's not based on just like outcomes, right? Um and also like it's just murder is not conducive to human flourishing, right?
I mean, common sense wise, yeah, but like you have to the standard that you back it up to is because God said not to do it.
I mean that's part, but also like I mean we're all made in His image and likeness, and like our life is a gift, right, by Him. And when you take that away from somebody, like yeah, I mean that's it's pretty horrible.
Right,
Like
but
you
some
were,
people might think that's good.
I mean that's not what God says. So that's why I fall back to that, and I trust the gold standard.
I don't know. I hate when people just say shit because like it's clearly like things happen differently than people say they do. Just on a small level and not a large level. Like people believe shit and then the opposite happens to them. I don't know. I think people just blow air. Honestly.
But all I know is that Christ is Lord, Mary is his mother, and Peter is his vicar. That's all like I can be sure about, right? All of these other like just conflicts here and there, and all this other stuff where it just gets so convoluted and I don't know. Like all I can know is that, right? And God's law is the way, right? Uh, we're still in the new covenant right now, and I will abide by those laws.
You know what? I'm not trying to take that away from you, but I'm really not.
Yeah, I guess like thank you. Um, I kind of I stumbled a little bit with the explaining why murder was bad, just because I got too caught up in like the skeptical kind of secular lens, right, with David Hume. Um,
I think that idea is fucking retarded to me.
I mean, it makes sense when you think about it.
I mean, it makes sense, but there's obviously clearly better ways to do things regardless of people's opinions on them. And it's true when you look at objectively what happens to people. You don't even have to believe it, you just see it unfold.
But I guess
Like,
like
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
what he was just trying to call out like pseudo kind of like just like people who were like had no like could not justify anything they were doing, right?
Which I think is good. I think like doing the exercise of reflecting on your actions and trying to get you to really like you're a kid, like why do you do this? Why? And you just keep deconstructing it until you lose your mind. I think is a good thing. But I just think the principle of like
Yeah, and there's atheists that still use this to call other atheists out because other atheists will say like, "Oh, he's so evil," and they're like, huh, "Nope, nope, you can't do that."
yeah.
Which I respect that because at least they're honest and they know what it is that they're doing. They're like, "Hey, if we actually don't think that there is any like reason to believe in any moral system, then I will stick with that, right?" You know, it doesn't it's not that I get to believe that and then just have all my like personal things. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. Um,
I
yeah.
think it's funny some people have that genuine belief, but also like because I remember in philosophy we had this fucking exhausting argument too, and the professor just kept doing the thing where he kept like anytime he would ask someone what they believe, he just kept saying why, and every time they explain it, well, he'd be like, well, there's no reason for you to actually believe. Like it was kind of a similar premise, and so it's just like if I sit there and beat you with a lead pipe and nothing is to happen, like is that right or wrong? And he was like, well, what's the metric? I'm like, your life. Your life will end. What if I like beat you to death right now?
Still,
You know what I mean?
what would the metric be?
Well, that's my whole entire
Like
point. The metric would
ultimately,
be whatever
why?
his metric is because I'm about to murder him with a fucking pipe. So if he thinks that's wrong, if he doesn't think it's wrong for murder to happen in general, there's no metric to believe in it. But then if he was about to get murdered, he probably would change that metric real fucking quick. You get what I'm saying?
Oh well, yeah. A lot of people call atheists and nihilists and like secularists out on that all the time about
Yeah,
how because
people
they'll be like,
people believe all this. That's my whole entire point. People believe all this confusing shit until something happens to them.
right,
That's my whole point.
right. Well, because
So that's why I need something to happen to me for me to believe something. You know what I mean? Like we're just that simple as people.
yeah. Well, I just like it's the whole like nihilism thing of like, oh well, like dude, why are you doing this? It doesn't matter. Okay, then why do you care that I'm doing this? Like really, if it doesn't matter, nothing matters. Then why does this conversation matter? Like why do you care about that? Right? And they're like,
Because
well, and it's like, yeah, exactly. It's not even consistent. It doesn't even make any sense.
I don't even believe nihilism is a real thing. I think it's just a reaction to like frustration and hurt.
I think
Like it's just a
nihilism is like,
emotional reaction.
I mean, yeah, it's part of it. I mean, I think nihilism is like the most like disgusting, like evil, like thing that like people get into believing. It's just ridiculous.
It is pretty self-destructive. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's not conducive to like it's not conducive to a happy life. It's not gonna make you. Yeah, it's not gonna make you happy. It's gonna make you miserable. It's gonna make the people around you miserable. It just leads to destruction, self-destruction, a destruction around you. Like destruction begets more destruction. You know?
Yeah. Destruction.
Yeah. Um. Man, it's just like people that actually like get it, like just ultimately just come to. There's like nothing matters. It's just all like it's all just sucks and everything. Like that is just. I honestly like want to cry sometimes when people like actually think that. Like
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory why they do feel like that because there's nothing really in the modern world to care for.
no, I
Most of it's
I
fucking
understand
false.
why.
So they attribute that to life in general. It's like, no, this is just where you're at right now because of the bullshit around you. But this is not how life is supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I understand
So I'm
why
saying
they
nihilism
believe
is a
that,
reaction to
but
all this nonsense, or make it more apathetic to real issues,
right.
or desensitized to violence and all that, kumbaya shit. But
Yeah, I understand why they believe that. I'm just sad that they got to that conclusion. You know?
because so much around us is just it really is just awful. Like like you learn from an early age that doing the right thing usually it'll get you killed usually, or it's way more difficult than sometimes that it's worth. It's way better than most people deserve. Like it is always difficult to do the right thing.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's easier to do the wrong thing. So it's like you start learning that from an early age, and then you learn how our system actually works, and then you learn the type of people that are celebrated and all the bullshit that goes on with them, and all the
Oh yeah.
corruption and all the
Yeah.
fucking like it's a bad foundation from the start. So you're not going to raise a society of people that care deeply about shit, or they mistake their care for just blind vitriolic rhetoric
Yeah.
because they've been taught to believe something retarded. So I don't know. I just nothing from our inception and our modern day life sets us up for that sort of mindset. You kind of have to find it on your own later in life, or you just are born a freak of nature and you have that foresight as a baby.
Yeah.
Some kids are old souls. It's just how they're born.
Yeah. I just anyone who just thinks that way are just like a total doomer and just like no hope and it's just nihilism and hedonism and just total just like secular like modern all of the stuff, right? And it's just it's like I said, I understand why people think this way. A lot of it's just personal experience and just like that's really all it is, right? Like I could give you the most like I thought we talked about this with like with atheists, like more often than not, it's just because like they had some shitty experience with like someone at church, right? I understand that's gotta suck, right? Like I could present you that that overrides any critical thinking, right? And I'm not criticizing them. I'm just stating how it is. Like that's just how we think as humans, you know? Like I could present them the most logical, like philosophical, like all of that stuff case for what I believe, and like it wouldn't mean anything, right? Because like people don't think just like, oh, I'll just think whatever the logical way is. Like, no. I mean, some people do and they arrive at the conclusion the conclusions I have, but the vast majority of people, it's just lived experience and passion, right? And it's just what I always try to tell people is just, and they tell me, oh, well, this happened and it just this happened, and I'm like, it could have been worse. After all of this stuff, it could have been worse. You're still here. You're talking to me. How does that mean that God doesn't love you? You know? And I know that they probably won't accept that, but still, it's worth trying, you know? It's just like, how else would I convince people for, you know?
Yeah, I've always been of the philosophy blame the message and supposed to blame the messenger.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people just,
But
they don't even know where their ideas come from. Like, just most of I mean, I hate to be so disrespectful to people, but just most of just like the nonsense that people, what comes out of their mouth is just from, like, it's just from like a like a think tank and like all these focus groups and all of these like just some like a headline they heard and all of these things like it's all psyop, right? And once you realize this, like you'd agree with me, it's just kind of really disturbing to see how it's like affects. people's like our their brains and how they think and their attitude, and it's just so sad how people are just duped into believing all of these terrible things, you know?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I. That's why, like I said, when we were having our debate earlier, it's like none of it ever came from a place of hurt. It's just because I generally just don't feel it. But I always like I always also think that there's a silver lining in everything. So like most people annoy me. It's not a secret for anyone that's been listening to this at all.
Right.
But there's always something that you learn a lot from bad experiences, and you learn a lot from dealing with people that are just contemptible, right? Like you
Right.
have like you just grows your fortitude. Like I don't want to be around people that are easy all the time. Like
Hmm.
I'd rather be annoyed than have a rougher life. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like having more appreciation and more, mindfulness of things is usually the better way to go. And it's how it makes you solve problems. It's how it gets you through all the rough times without having to succumb to vice. So I don't know. If there's anything certainly that I believe is that you always have to find new ways to evolve, no matter what the scenario is around you. And I've never been I would say the only place I've ever argued out of hurt is like past like relationships that I've had where you get so personally invested and all that turmoil happens and you
Yeah.
say shit you don't mean, blah blah blah, and that's a destructive cycle in itself. But other than that, I don't really argue from hurt from any other aspect of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, what you were saying, about just like you get knocked down, you just have to get back up again. Like it just, yeah, I don't see how else you're supposed to do it, you know? Like nothing
You
else.
have to.
Yeah, like nothing else is gonna save you. No one's coming to save you. Like the government, I don't care who it is coming to save you. It just doesn't like. I mean, maybe they will, but like, okay, no, like you're already if you're hoping they do or are wondering whether or not they do, like you're already thinking the wrong way, you know?
Yeah,
And just
yeah, truly.
bro, like some people literally think. I remember you joked. You're like people think that, oh, if we just vote for the right people, then it can all be fixed.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
we've
bro,
jerked that horse off enough. I
what?
mean I can't. If we beat that horse to death, I can't wait for this year to be over.
Yeah,
I'm so tired of it. I don't want to hear the next political thing someone says to me, I'm punching them directly in their nose.
yeah. It's like
Tired of it.
right. Like I don't want to hear about any more. Like I don't want to hear any more about the taxes, about the like, all, like your bullshit political stuff. I don't care, right? I don't care about that. I care about Jesus Christ. That's all that matters. Like all of these other things will end eventually. These regimes, these systems, these kingdoms and nation, like all of these things come and go. They will all end one day ultimately. The only thing that will not end is Jesus Christ. So I will focus all of my attention on that, or at least I try to. I'm a sinner just like everyone else is, right? And I fall short of that quite a bit. But
Well, the real question is, who would Jesus vote for? We always ask what would he do, but who would he vote for?
oh man, I mean, I think he would just probably just delete America in the first place. Like, I think he would just be like, nope, you guys are just too far gone.
Fucking Sodom and Gomorrah had a devil child.
Oh yeah, I know it's sad. I mean, I would say I used to be like, well, he would have voted for like um certain like Republican candidates, but like at this point, it's like a lot of them don't even care because at least like then I was like, okay, some of these people like believe in like that they have the same like stance on like these issues that matter to me, right? Like same-sex marriage or abortion or all of these things, right? But now a lot of them have just like caved and are like, well, okay, maybe we should like, you know, like with like when you see all these Republicans are like, like maybe we should be a little bit more, like lax on like abortion and stuff like that. just to be more electable. I'm like, what? So you can get in office and do what? Like that's why we want you in office. So we think you're gonna help us with that. But if you can't help us with that, because like what are you gonna? Okay, you just mask off. You just want the power. That's all it is.
I mean, even ones that do like, I mean, they're fucking their motives are far from virtuous, and they've proven that time and time again.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I don't know who gives a fuck. Wait, hold on. Did you say that Jesus would vote for Republican candidates? Is that what you said?
No, I was saying like I kind of used to think for like certain people based on like they had like solid stances on like serious moral issues, right? Because all of these things with like the taxes or whatever, I honestly think Jesus doesn't care about that. But like other issues like same-sex marriage and like abortion and I mean the list goes on and on. Like I think that does matter. And like Jesus does care about whether or not you vote for that or not.
Well, if he comes back to Earth, he can run as independent. He can be a first libertarian candidate that wins. Jesus, Hosanna Christ.
I mean, yeah, Jesus does not know political party or ideology or anything. Like it's because it's all I mean, it's all just made up. And Jesus is the only thing that isn't made up.
Do you think he would open carry?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so because I mean, he said no to violence, but
Oh fuck.
yeah. Wow, dude.
Well,
Yeah, I'm still trying to remain optimistic for the turn of the year.
nah, bro, we're fucked. Just slowly. Just we're slow burning,
Yeah.
slow cook.
I
Maybe
just
not in our lifetime. Maybe so.
I just think that well, whether it's Trump or whoever it is, just the fact that there's going to be like some kind of change in office, like even if it's good or bad, I just think that change alone will just be like a change of pace and that'll just feel better. I don't know.
Dude, I want both of them to die and just have like the dumbest fucking candidate ever just make it. I want to see like
What if like
I just want
Kanye
to see
was
an
the
entertaining
president?
year. I'm here for it. Fucking Kanye West, Taylor Swift vice president. I don't care. First shitty musician in the White House. I don't I don't give a fuck.
Do you like Kanye at all?
I mean, I liked a couple of songs here and there from his old stuff, but I don't really listen to him that much.
I
But
prefer
no, I don't listen to him at all now.
I prefer the old Kanye.
I know everyone says that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to like his first couple albums. Thought they're pretty good. I haven't listened to in a while.
I do love watching his mental breakdowns in real time. People are, dude. I hate when people just they're so fucking just. What's the word? They're just so because everyone says self-righteous, arrogant, self-virtuous,
Narcissistic?
blah 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 blah, narcissistic.
Yeah.
Everyone throw. I want a new word for these kind of people because they'll sit there and get mad at Kanye West. Like Kanye is saying the most insane shit I've ever heard in my life, and people are like, oh, he's so dangerous. Don't listen to his ideologies. Like he's out of his fucking mind. Yeah, no shit. Don't listen to him, you fucking idiots. Like my god.
Dude, most things that like people say about like anything, I'm like, who gives a shit?
Like he's sitting there with a mask on saying he loves Hitler. Like, bro, like if anyone takes it seriously, they're fucking retarded. The people that say you shouldn't listen to him are also fucking retarded. Like, just move on with your day. Give
Yeah.
him some bipolar meds and fucking move on. God.
Right. That was like, did you see the or hear about like the interview that Putin had with Tucker Carlson?
I didn't watch it, but I've seen everyone make a fucking reaction video, and I purposely avoid it because I'm just neither of those two men I want to hear speak. So I don't care.
It's actually really, really,
Like, what the
um,
fuck would Tucker Carlson ask Putin?
well, that's the thing
What is going on?
because Putin, well, he just asked him like, why did he invade Ukraine and all this stuff, and the whole thing is that Putin is like was like trying to explain to Tucker Carlson how geopolitics actually works and certain and he was basically showing him how um this ultimately can be traced back to like America's like influence in Ukraine and stuff like that, and that's really what it is, right? And then like certain questions, like Putin was just totally just like he was really playing with them. He was having like the time of his life. He's like, how do you not see this? And like he was showing him all of like the CIA stuff, and it was actually really entertaining. Um,
See, I feel it's only fair that if Cardi B can interview Joe Biden, that we get Kanye to interview Putin. That has to happen.
yeah, I feel like that would be even less. I mean, this was already. I didn't even really think it was that filtered, just because Putin, like he's unique in like leaders, just because our like leaders, quote unquote, are they're just puppets and like spokesmen. Like they don't actually. Putin even talked about that. He said like in the past, like he would talk to like the American presidents. They would say one thing to him, and then he would go back and like speak to his advisors, right, and all that, and then and his agents, right, informant, and then he would go back and tell them a completely different thing, right? So, like our presidents
Hell
aren't the
yeah.
person in charge, right? Whereas like Putin in his country actually is the man in charge, right? And he knows this, and like when like they ask him like certain things, he's like, I don't know, like don't you guys like don't you guys have something better to do? He was like, America, you guys have like a border crisis. You have like your national debt is fucked. You just have civil unrest in your country. Like, why do you guys give so much of a shit about Ukraine? He's like,
Money, 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 money.
well, yeah, he was pointing that out. He's like, can you just mind your own damn business?
I mean, it's pretty clear the conflicts we pick and choose to care about or are forced to care about. So
Hey, like you said, it's just
something against Russia, that's a no no.
yeah. But basically, all he was saying is he like he was just like, I am proud of my country. I am the leader of the Russian people, and like that's that. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, like there people.
Did he actually like Trump, or was that like a
Yeah, he said he had a good relationship with him. Well, he said ultimately he just wants like America to leave Russia alone. Like, I mean, and all he and in the interview he said he's just like, I just want Ukraine and that's it. Like, I don't care about anything past that. Um, but like America and the West is just keeps trying to like um and they just keep trying to like create all of like the CIA like satellite states and all these places just to like get back at us for like shit that happened like and he also he gets into the really complicated history and stuff like that. um but basically he was just like, I just want what's best for my country. Just like leave us alone, fix your own country. Like, what do you want me to say?
God? It's funny when you watch this shit because like you go into it like learning nothing. It's just for entertainment value.
Yeah, but I think that was
Like
refreshing because he really did shed light, and like a lot of Americans kind of started to realize, okay, wait,
we know that though. We already know this.
no, but
Like
I think
it's
like,
nothing new.
but I think for like,
Like one tyrant speaking to our government's tyrants. Like it's just like a cock tease. Like I wish I could fucking kill all of them. Like I don't give a fuck.
no, but like,
Like I don't need Putin to tell me like how fucked our country is. Like we live in it, I know it, but now we have to like pretend to care about your bullshit because you have to fucking take over lands. It's like fuck all you guys.
no, but like,
I wish I could not be on this planet. Fuck all these retarded other humans.
no, but like what Putin was saying in all this, like he was just saying like he didn't have to go and like consult with anyone before. He was just like he's the man in charge and he knows it, and he was just like totally not like um
Is their economy still fucked?
Russian.
Didn't they fuck themselves royally for this?
I mean, I'm sure, but
So it's like I don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who cares if it's one person in charge? If it's a conglomeration of morons in charge, like they just fuck themselves.
also he wasn't trying to like appeal to any of like the like Western sympathies or any of like the lowest common denominator. Like, no, look, we're actually like the cool, like based right wing country. He's like, you guys are like cringe and gay. Like, just fuck off. And I was like, fair enough. Let's just fix our home here. I think everyone
Oh,
should
I
be on
agree,
board
dude.
with that. Yeah,
Pull out of all the fucking bases. Just fix our fucking shit. I'm tired of being in all these conflicts.
right. I'm like, okay, even if like Putin laid out this whole case of why like they have like historic ties to the land of Ukraine, whether or not that's the case, whether it was right or wrong of him to invade Ukraine, I don't know, and I don't care because that's not our fight. That's their fight. They could just, like just leave them alone.
Yeah, I mean, if a government becomes too much of a problem, like Germany did back in World War II, is like then you kind of band together and stamp the shit out. But like countries fight each other all the fucking time. Let people kill each other. Let genocides happen. Fucking I don't know, dude. Like
Yeah, and like I
there's
know
like
Putin's like I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's kind of a piece of shit, but like I at least can just like thank him for being honest about like who he is, like what he stands for, and like he's just like you know he rules his people. Like you don't there's no ambiguity, like there's no fake like because our leaders, right, like I said, like they're all fake. You know it's fake. It's the most like inauthentic just bullshit. Whereas like he's just like in Russia, like you know who's in charge. Similar to what I was telling you about like monarchy. You know who rules you. It's very unambiguous.
yeah, and you also clearly know if you criticize them, you're gonna die.
Right, yeah.
So people are like so surprised. Yeah, who knows who the fuck is in charge here? I would like to find out who's actually in charge here,
Here, I mean,
so we can fucking hang them in the streets.
we absolutely have probably like their names are probably like not publicly known. It's
Oh yeah,
just
fuck no, we have no idea.
it's just some like faceless just like dude in like Arkansas or something. And
God,
there's like a theory of that like all of like the elite structure is just like in Arkansas because of
what?
because of like Bill Clinton and all.
Oh my god, of course, the most bullshit state to control things.
I mean, if it's not that, it's probably either in like I mean Washington, New York, LA. I mean, it's probably in some big city, but um,
Las Vegas,
maybe or like just what Area 51 or something.
Nevada.
No, I feel like that's a psyop. That's fake. That is not real. Like that is like what they like. That's like the Hollywood like they prop that up to get to distract people from what is actually the thing.
What, Area 51? What do you
Yeah.
mean, like the alien shit, or like that being a real place?
No. Yeah. That being like an intelligence like like an intelligence site. Like that's not like or a research site.
It was. It was.
No, but like that
It's where they developed the Blackbird.
right, but where that's all of like the where the power structure or not all, but where it's like that's where it is. I think
Oh no, there's probably multiple.
right, but I think they just kind of prop that up to distract people from where it actually is.
It was a big secret though, because Eisenhower was so pissed that he basically wanted to know what was going on there, and they were like, it was on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know. He's like, I'm gonna fucking send the Eighth Army and fucking find out myself.
Oh,
So he threatened to do that
is that what
bullshit.
happened? Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So Area 51 was a kind of a big deal. It was a lot of top secret shit happened there, and obviously when it became more mainstream, they'd spread out, and there's probably a Lockheed Martin hangar where they'd torture a fucking African kid for some mine that they found. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
That they need batteries for their planes and their missiles and shit.
Yeah. But
Working on the next thing.
it was just really funny to like see the way people reacted to it. And it's like, okay, like you'd still like you're just figuring this out, you know? Like Putin was
Yeah.
just having
Yeah.
he was having the time of his life. Because
Apparently
like
that's not going to end that well because it does have health problems. Boomers are fucking getting old, man. Their time is nigh.
oh no. Oh no.
Dude, they're probably gonna be like any. It doesn't matter what he dies of. Someone's gonna be like, he's assassinated, so we're gonna start a conflict.
Well, I mean, like you said, um Do you think it would be easier to assassinate him just because, like, you know it's him and that's who the power comes from? Because, like, here, we don't know who to assassinate.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's we. I don't know if it's easier to assassinate. I'm sure a lot of people want to, and the fact that he hasn't been yet
I
is
mean, it's hard regardless, but I guess, like,
yeah.
I guess it would just be easier to come up with a plan. I'm not saying it was gonna work, but, like, come up with some idea because, like, you know where, like, you know where the head is. It's just cutting it off is like it's very simple. Just cut the head off and then you're good to go. But, you know, how do you get to the head and all these other things? That's what makes it really hard. Well, you know where the head is, whereas like here it's just like this whole octopus and like these tentacles like everywhere. You don't even know what to cut.
You would have to kill a lot of people in our government to find that. Like, you would legitimately. I don't even know how
Oh
many
yeah.
people you'd have to fucking just like. What? God.
Oh yeah.
It's like I don't even know where you would start.
What's so like
Honestly, you probably just start at Wall Street and all these fucking hedge funds and all these other corp. You probably would just start there.
right? What's just kind of like disturbing is that like my dad was like working. I mean, he worked in Washington for a long time, and he didn't even realize any of this stuff until like, you know, like way later. And it's like, wow, you know, like some of these people who are even in it don't even realize it. You know,
Yeah, it's like I said before, the machine is too well oiled.
right? Or like if you're in the military, right, and like you just, you know, a lot of people in it are just well-meaning, you know, just patriotic people, but you know, they find out later along the line, um, what was really going on.
I think the biggest bullshit was the Iraq War when a lot of veterans signed up after 9/11 and they realized what was actually going down in Iraq and they're like, "What the fuck, dude? Fuck this place."
Oh yeah. And then wait, what was the so after 9/11 we invaded Iraq, right?
Well, I don't know if we directly did after 9/11. That's why a lot of people joined, but basically we lied and said that they had weapons of mass destruction when they didn't,
Nope.
and then caused a fake fucking invasion. And they told people that they were liberating the Iraqi people when in reality they were just fucking occupying and colonizing the land for fucking
Yeah.
resources. They weren't doing shit.
Yeah. No, and it's
Like,
not easy for like, you know, for people to like realize that they were wrong and admit it and stuff like that. And of course, I have the luxury of like I was like a little kid when all that happened, right? And then of course I hear it from my parents now and I understand, okay, yeah, that was wrong. But like my dad was telling me he's like, yeah, like back then we were just like so convinced that like this was right. And then later on the lines, I was just like, no, like this isn't it. And like all these like atrocities that happened and stuff like that. And all of it like what was I thinking, you know? Um
what's crazy is that like that's unanimously everyone knows that was a like it should be a criminal. There's no one fucking in jail for it, like Bush, Cheney. None of those assholes have ever got reprimanded at it fucking all.
yeah, and
But everyone's like, yeah,
Obama,
this is
like
fucked up.
bro.
Like most people that are like left or right leaning, and also people that did serve in the military, most people like this was the biggest fucking mistake. It was legitimately a fabrication, and a lot of people died innocently because of it. Like, and the fact that no one's really that mad about it is wild to me because it's what most people kind of agree on. Like, no one supports the Iraq War, just like
No.
most people didn't support the fucking Vietnam War. Like,
Right. I think the Vietnamese War, there was like a justification that could be given, but like with the Iraq War, we just like straight up lied, you know, like you said it.
yeah. So
Um,
it's why that no one's in. Well, it's not wild. No, I mean it makes sense. No one's in fucking jail, but it's wild to me that people are not that pissed off about it. They're like, yeah, that was a mistake. Like, bro, you voted for that shit. What the fuck do you mean?
yeah, no, I know. Um,
Like, this is why I don't fucking vote. So I don't have to bear this responsibility of lesser of the two evils because you don't actually know if that's fucking true.
well, the other thing is
Oh my
like,
god.
even if you voted for it, do you even think that the vote counted? Like, bro,
I
like it's
mean,
probably just picked.
not
Yeah,
really.
it's probably just picked
I'm
by
just saying,
the
just
by the top, like you know, all these votes. It's just cast aside. Right?
I more mean the morality behind voting and what people tell you why it's fucking
Oh
important.
yeah, yeah.
And history clearly shows why you should not give a fuck about voting and why you should focus on more productive shit in your life, because this is what it gets. You bearing responsibility for things that you have no control over.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's a double fucked.
Yeah.
That's like you get everything wrong. But
I remember I talked to my dad about this. I was like, "You voted for Bush, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "And you clearly think none of the Iraq War was a mistake." Even Bush said it himself, that was a fucking mistake. And he was like, "You just like, yeah." I was like, "What the fuck? Like, that's it? Like,
yeah.
are you not more pissed off?"
I mean, then again, like I don't even think I mean it wasn't Bush who did it. It was clearly like,
It was it
he
was probably it was mainly Cheney, I would say, and all the other people in the military industrial complex, but Cheney was probably the
yeah,
biggest
that's
orchestrator of it.
is he the general?
No, he was the Secretary of Defense. What was he?
Oh yeah. It's some bullshit title that
What
is
was he?
bullshit.
Let's see whatever his title is. I mean, obviously I know he was the former vice president, but I think at the was he just the vice president doing that shit? Okay, he was just the vice president. I thought he was. A lot of
Oh,
people say that he had a lot of investments in his other companies that he worked with and owned stocks in, and they're all fucking military contracts later during the Iraq War. So there's a lot of collusion that he was recorded to be involved with that he never got in trouble for.
oh, that was Bush's vice president.
Cheney, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, the one they made the movie about and all that.
Yeah, I thought that. I guess that was just him being a vice president. I don't know if you could. Okay, yeah. So him, I think most of it was his fucking fault.
Bruh. And then like
Bush was just a fucking moron.
yeah, George. Well, like I said, yeah. Like, and also Putin just talked about like the president doesn't really do anything. It's really just the other people. Like when they say, "Oh, this president did this," like, nah, they really don't have any sovereignty.
Yeah.
um, but just like literally, there was like Christian communities in like Iraq and all the Middle East that were there for like 1,000 years, just gone, like just like out of nowhere.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, it is nice that like now the view is like now the consensus is that, yep, that was bad. Like we gained nothing from that.
We don't really gain anything from anything.
Well, the only thing you gain is grace, right, and eternal life through Jesus Christ. That's the only thing that matters.
There you go.
It's just anti-nihilism. Like I hold
Anti-nihilism.
similar views of like the yeah, none of this really matters and stuff like that, but it's none of this matters because in the end we win. Because in the end Christ is Lord and we have hope, right? Like it's just the like opposite.
Well, eventually our empire is going to topple, so
Yeah,
hopefully,
but that's what's
hopefully that'll happen before.
yeah, and that's like actually what's something that's is really nice about being Catholic is that like even if America falls, like I know that there's so many other like there's Catholic communities like all throughout the south of our border. Like I could just go there. I mean, is my life gonna be worse? Sure, but I still have like what's most meaningful to me, Because I mean I love America. It's my home, but like it will end, right? You know?
It will. That is true.
And that's why like what's most important to me is not like my like freedom or like any of those like just kind of political ideologies. That's I mean that or like all of these things like I said, it'll just be over. Like what's most important to me, like I've always said, I don't care about taxes. I don't care about there's all this like private sector versus the like Jesus Christ. That's all it is, right? In his church. If I have that, I'm good.
Guide your light.
What'd you say?
I said, yeah, man, guide your light.
Yeah, thank you, man. Um, yeah, I mean, when you kind of come to these conclusions, it's just like, I don't know, like there's this certain confidence where not like this totally like idealistic kind of nonsense, but it's just like the I really don't feel scared about anything anymore. Like where I used to be like like a like worried about how people would like feel or look at me or whatever, like not in like the like like the movie sense of like the I'm standing up to the bully, like it's not that, it's just it's more of just like a kind of like just relaxed like you know if these people like because there's always gonna be people that hate you, right? But if someone doesn't like you, it's like well, there's always gonna be people like that, and you have two options. Like really, at the end of the day, it's you can either wish hell for them, which I mean, like why would you do that? Like why would you desire that? That's hate, you know. But then you could do the opposite of that, and what Jesus says us to do is to pray for them, right, and love them, right? Because like what better thing is it to do than will the good of the other person? I know like it's easy to say that, right? And of course, I'm guilty of not doing that a lot, or I say some stupid comment or I get for or like if I've come to the truth, I know Jesus Christ and I want people to know it, right? And then someone brings up some objection to that or something or tries commits a case that I'm wrong, right? And I have to be like the argument winner, right? And it's just like the and I pull some like sly, like a smug comment or something, or I just feel like no no no, I have to like win the debate, and it's like I just have to stop and think, am I trying to win this for me or for him? It's just pride really is it's the root of all sins, like it just it ruins everything because pride it's like once you start thinking about yourself and not God, just that's when all the bad stuff just comes out,
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely the cause of a lot of turmoil and pain.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's some dipshit assholes out here, right? A lot of people that just pissed me off, right? A lot of people are really cringe. But I mean, it can't be eliminated, right? Just because like we're human beings, and as long as we're human beings and imperfect and have fallen, we're gonna sin, right? That's just the reality, right? And we're not perfect, right? So we can never get perfect. But it's just like recognizing like and knowing what's right and just trying your best to stick to that, 'Cause that's just the best you could do, right? And even if someone like is like the most shitty ass person ever, like nothing good comes from it if I just keep on that downward spiral of just like just like just of animosity towards them and just willing the bad, like no, like that's not my because then you're judging, right? Because then you're then like then you're literally passing judgment on them, and only God can do that because only God has the final word, right? It's all in God's hands in the end. That's why like you can't have that's why revenge is wrong because you're taking like that because God is justice, right? And like the final he has the final say, right? So when you take that into your own hands, like you're like, no, 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 I get to do it, right? And it's like, no, no, I don't get to do it, you know, because I don't know what's gonna happen to that person. They could come around. You never know. Mm,
Yeah, that's why, like I said, try to usually not go through life with an arrogant lens and just see what the best way wins.
yeah. I mean, I know in certain circumstances it's like, eh, like there is righteous anger and whatnot. Um, like if your sister gets raped or something like that, you know. Um, that's a little bit different, but yeah.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I was hearing this guy on this podcast tell the story about how his sister actually did get murdered and how he wanted to like just like kill those people so bad. And they literally got out like scot free, right?
Damn, dude. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Well, because they're from Ireland, and then his sister went on like honeymoon in like North Africa somewhere, like Tunisia or something, right? And then these two men like murdered her. And of course it's a majority Muslim country, and then it's like, oh, like Western or Christian people, of course they're gonna be like biased against that. This is how it is, right? Um, and then like it was just a total bullshit trial, and the guys got out scot free, right? And then he wanted to kill him so bad, but then he just was able to overcome that, like, no, it's in God's hands, you know.
Yeah, unless you're the retribution of God.
Yeah,
But yeah, tough world, man. Really is.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just that's just how it is.
Um, well, I think a good metric to end our podcast on is what do you give Eyes Wide Shut
Mm.
out of 10?
Yeah, that's the thing. I was gonna say this when we were talking about it, is that I don't even know if I can give it a rating. It's just the good stuff was really good, and then there's some just kind of things where it just, like it kind of petered out a little bit, or like it was just kind of a slow burn and just stuff like that. Just all these factors and how it's presented. I just don't even know how I'm supposed to rate it. Well, I guess
Right.
right. I guess the best like score I can give it is that I don't think I would watch it again. That's really all like my final words would be.
Yeah, same.
Like it's a I will it was like very interesting, but do not think we'll ever watch again out of 10.
Yeah, I
That's
think that's fair.
yeah.
That is fair.
I mean, I think I liked it better than you did. Um
I mean, I really wanted to like it. I like the premise. I like
I
the
thought you did,
cinematography. I
yeah.
like the
I thought
setup.
you were gonna like it, and all the actual way that the cult was presented, and the cinematography, and the
I thought
chants.
it looked cool. I wanted more of it.
Yeah, and the chants. That was, I remember you asked me if that was Latin, and I wasn't sure. I looked it up. It was a Romanian Orthodox chant in reverse,
Hmm.
which is,
It sounded cool.
yeah, I didn't even know, like, um also, who do you think uh was the guy in the red suit?
Uh, I don't know. His accent didn't sound like anyone else in the movie, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was a British.
Yes, I have no
It's
idea.
probably like some part of like the British royal family or something.
It's Prince Andrew's dad.
Right. Was yeah, Prince Andrew was the guy on Epstein Island.
He was the one that was accused of raping a woman when she was, well, not raping, but having a statutory rape with an underage girl. She's testifying against
Mm.
him.
And then
Well, I don't know if they settled or not, but that was the accusation.
what is statutory rape again?
Minors cannot consent sexually, so if you have sex with a minor, it is considered statutory rape.
Ah, okay. And then how is Prince Andrew related to like the main family?
I don't know the royal family shit. I just know he's the children of one of them. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I just also it was just really creepy, like when they discover him, and then there's like the password, and then he has to say it, and then I remember when he's talking to like that lady who's like, no, you don't know what you're doing here, like you have to get out, right? And then there's like the guy's like, hey, is that your text? It's like, okay, he wants to speak with you, and he brings him outside, and then he realized, oh wait, I'm not leaving, and then like all of the people just like he's about to leave, then the door, and then he turns around, and sees like all of the cult is like staring at him, and then like they're like, come here, and it's like, oh shit. That was so freaky. Oh,
Yeah, that was a cool part.
yeah, and then it's like they all he walks up to them and then they make the circle, right, and they're like there's no way out. And then he literally asked him to like take off his clothes. I was like, okay, and then the guy in the red suit's like what did he say? He was like take off your clothes or I will. He was like don't uh he was like don't make me have to do it for you. I was like, "Oh no."
Like hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, and then I was like, POV, you work in
POV shot.
the Vatican.
Dude, if that movie was directed by Quentin Tarantino, you'd see all that in 4K.
Oh, that would be like a
Fucking,
that'd be a I'm interested to see like the Quentin Tarantino's eyed wide shut.
you see cum shots everywhere. You see more jigglage,
Oh yeah.
slow mo shots.
Yeah, I wonder if
A lot of feet, lot of feet, lot of feet, a lot of toe sucking.
yeah, we have to do it more um Stanley Kubrick movies. I haven't seen Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, that's definitely the one we gotta watch next. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I mean I've seen like the funny clips because everyone has, but
Yeah,
there's that 2001: A Space Odyssey is interesting.
that
Um,
one I want to see, especially since people think that it was the reason why NASA made him fake the moon landing.
yeah. um, do you believe that? I think I've asked you this, but do you?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, because like I was mentioning before, because it is possible to go to the moon, it's possible they could have done it back then too. So
Hmm.
if we have never been back to the moon since, and if it was so difficult, then I would probably say it's probably less likely if it's that hard to do it again. But the fact that we're able to
Yeah,
is,
because we've been to the moon a couple other times, right?
oh, many times, yeah.
Right. Yeah. 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 It's the one time that okay, maybe that would be.
Yeah, if it was one time, I'm like, that makes more sense. Cold War, trying to show we're advanced, that, I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah. That would make sense.
But
Um.
it is possible.
Yeah, but it's just interesting because like you just see like the techniques and like the rear screen projection and all that stuff, and then people show like the similarities between that and like the pictures of the people on the moon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think they make it not always, but sometimes they can make a convincing case. Um, I mean, I know like he was around like really elite people, um, and he was with NASA too, and
So it's more likely that he fucked children than faked the moon landing.
I mean probably. Um, I mean, a lot of it was he's probably in all of that stuff, like weird sex cult, and he was just mad that he wasn't one of the boys. So then he.
He kind of looks like Aleister Crowley a little bit, I think.
Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, let's see. Stanley Kubrick.
Wait, that
If
blanking.
I'm,
I'm blanking on who Aleister Crowley is.
he was the modern cultist mystic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Okay,
I
I'm looking at Stanley Kubrick. Now I'm gonna look at Aleister Crowley.
no, I think that Stanley Kubrick just looks like some like Arab dude in L.A. just like asking for your rent.
Holy fuck, Aleister Crowley's born in 1875? Jesus, I thought he was newer than that.
Oh yeah, there's Aleister Crowley. Yeah.
With his stupid fucking hat.
Yeah, and the pentagrams. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably some asshole.
Was he a Freemason?
Probably.
Yeah, he looks pretty fucking deranged.
Yeah, that is true, but don't you agree with my take on Stanley Kubrick? Yeah,
Yeah.
just some Arab dude in LA just what is my rent?
Oh, fuck. R.I.P. Maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope everyone rests in peace. Yeah,
Oh,
but
shit.
yeah, I am starting to think that more is that like because I don't really think that even if he was in on it, like I don't think he agreed with all of like the elite stuff because his whole a lot of his movies it's critiquing that. So I think he was around it, he saw it all, and he was just like mad he wasn't a part of it. So,
What if he was just being meta ironic and he just showed it because he felt like it?
well, could be ever just for the art, the sake of
Yeah.
the art. I don't know. I mean, he was an art
Like I
guy.
like making people think I believe it.
That's true.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know too much about his. I mean, I know he was I think he was like agnostic and stuff like that. I don't really know too much else about like his personal views on things and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what I definitely know is that he looks like some Arab dude in LA asking for your rent. But he's like Shell Silverstein a little bit.
That dude fucked, man.
Oh yeah, weren't you telling me that?
Never married. Fucked a ton of bitches.
Like Ben Franklin.
Yeah. Except I don't think he died like Ben Franklin.
How did Ben Franklin die?
Didn't he die of like syphilis?
I don't know.
I thought he died of an STD. I might be making that up, or he had syphilis and died of something else.
What is syphilis? Like, what does it do to you?
It's a. I don't know what it does, but I know it's permanent, and if it's not treated, it'll kill you.
Eesh.
Pleurisy. Pleurisy? Complications from pleurisy. I don't know what pleurisy is. What the fuck is pleurisy?
Pleurisy.
What is
Like, yeah, that's weird. I don't know.
inflammation of the lining of the lungs and chest, called the pleura? Cause sharp pains when breathing deeply or coughing. The pain may also be felt in the shoulder.
Mm.
So it's a bacterial infection in your lungs?
Oh, no.
Huh.
Were people already smoking? Like, when did people. I mean, I know we got smoking from, like, the Indians, but, like, when did we start,
I'm sh-
like,
I mean, they've been trying to harvest tobacco since we fucking started this country, so I'm sure they smoked a
yeah, I
shit
was
ton.
wondering. Yeah, I bet they did. Well, except for, like, the Puritans, but.
Yeah.
Bruh, Shel Silverstein just looks like. Oh, no, he just looks like.
Wait, what? Sorry, so apparently it was a rumor that Ben Franklin had syphilis, but apparently Abraham Lincoln had syphilis.
From.
What the
From
fuck?
plurality. Whatever that is.
What the fuck? Is that true? I don't think that's true. I have to look that up more. I've never heard of Abraham Lincoln having fucking syphilis.
Yeah, I don't.
I think they're pulling my dick,
Yeah, and you don't want that.
yanking my chain.
Yanking it. Oh,
But
Shel Silverstein actually looks like kind of creepy.
he was really big friends with Hugh Hefner. He went to the Playboy Mansion a lot.
Who's Hugh Hefner?
He was the Playboy Mansion guy.
Oh, okay.
Started that shit.
Bruh.
That's what I'm saying, man. He fucked.
Oh no.
Great, great children's book author.
I mean, he made some great children's books.
I love his shit. His drawings were creepy as fuck. I loved them as a kid.
Yeah, and a lot of them have good messages. I mean, it's like how, like Disney or DreamWorks make these great movies with all the kids' movies with all these good messages, and then you see like the people who made it, and it's like, what?
I read this fucking article about the Giving Tree, and people were like, I won't let my kid read the Giving Tree. It sends out a horrible message. And they're like,
Wasn't it to
you're not
just
supposed
like be
to.
thankful and stuff like that?
Well, they missed the point of the fucking book.
What did they
They're
say
like,
the point was?
they said the point was that you're supposed to give your undying support to people, and just like you're supposed to give them everything. No, that wasn't the fucking point of the book.
Well, then, like,
My
bro,
God.
even that's not even like bad. If I'm like, just what, like, help people?
Well, the whole point is just like to teach kids to help people and hurt yourself in the process because the tree gave its life to make this fucking kid happy. Like that wasn't the point of the fucking story.
Hmm.
God.
Bruh.
Yeah, that's right. You're supposed to help people until you die. and then you're supposed to cut off your arm and then sew it onto another person that doesn't have an arm,
Even
and that's how you
even
achieve
that,
nirvana.
I just don't even understand what it's even talking about. Like, what? I don't even
The
understand.
Giving Tree?
No, like that criticism. I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Oh,
It's just incoherent.
they just visually saw it and had to get mad at it. I
Well,
don't know.
people always want to be mad about everything, but
Yeah.
the what else? He wrote like where the sidewalk
I always thought it
ends,
was a sad story.
and
It
then
was a sad fucking story. It wasn't supposed to be like, oh, I really want to give people unconditional support until it hurts me. Like, no.
yeah, yeah,
It's a fucking sad story. It's
um,
important to read sad shit.
yeah. No, it does. What is like he wrote where the sidewalk ends, and then what else did he do? Like,
Well, they're all a collection of like short poems.
oh yeah,
Where the Sidewalk Ends was a book, but that was one of them in the book. But there's a bunch of other ones in there.
I see. Yeah, and Dr. Seuss.
That guy was just a propaganda machine.
Really? Like, I haven't read him in like a while. Oh yeah, like
Oh
the
yeah.
Lorax and the
Well, no, not even that. Just like he legitimately wrote like propaganda for the U.S. government during World War II,
people say that
or
about
drew it.
not exactly in the same way, but like about Roald Dahl.
Did he do that too?
Well, for like the British intelligence and all that.
Okay.
Well,
Well, no, like Dr. Seuss legitimately made like fucking political propaganda.
like what did he do? I'm kind of interested.
He wrote like a offensive comic about the Japanese. Hold on, let me find it.
Really?
Yeah, Dr. Seuss.
Well, like is like the Cat in the Hat supposed to be like that or something?
No,
Or like
those are like his children's
or like
stuff.
Horton Hears a Who okay, so all of that is like just
Yeah,
that's
he did
children's
like
stuff.
he did a lot of like he drew like a. It's funny to see it because it's in the style of Dr. Seuss. Like there's like a Lorax looking animal thing. It was a cages cost money. Buy more U.S. savings and bonds and stamps. And he drew like a little bird thing with a Uncle Sam hat and a gun, pulling this massive like rhino elephant with a swastika on it. Like it's hilarious the shit that he would draw back in World War II.
Yeah,
Like if you look it up, it's pretty funny.
yeah,
He also drew Hitler a lot.
really.
Ensure your home against Hitler. He was like, I guess he was working for some savings and bonds thing for the government. That's what he did.
Yeah, it's always about the stocks.
Oh, he wrote. This one's a really fucking offensive one. Yeah, he drew like a Japanese person, really stereotypical, and he's like, wipe that sneer off his face. Buy war savings bonds and stamps. God.
Yeah. What was wait? Who else was there? Like, oh yeah, the Roald Dahl. He's
Roald
interesting. Like,
Dahl.
I want to read some of his stuff again. Like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, and what else is
Oh, that's right. I forgot he wrote
yeah,
Matilda.
he made great stuff. Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Twits,
James and the Giant
that
Peach. I like that story.
yeah, that too. Yeah, I remember my mom read that to me when I was a little kid. Um, yeah. 'Cause yeah, I was Jay Dyer also was talking about like how he put a bunch of like British intelligence like esoteric kind of cult symbolism into his books. And I kind of want to go back
Yeah.
and just be like, okay, wait, did that actually happen? Because part of me is like, okay, it's a children's book, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, it goes with propaganda. The younger you are, the less it has to make sense.
Well, I know about him. He was. I don't know if he. I mean, people accuse him of being anti-Semitic and racial stereotypes and all that shit, but I don't know.
Well, I mean that, like, honestly, with this whole thing, I'm like, if someone's like accusing someone else of being an anti-Semite, like I'm pretty sure that's a big indication that they are actually an anti-Semite. It's like up all the people that are like, you're a racist, or like you're a pet, or like people always like like project all that stuff. It's just because they're insecure about what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Like the anti-Semitism. I'm like, okay, like all of you people whining about that, you do realize that like you're hanging around a bunch of people who like legitimately like hate Jews, right? Like, bruh.
Because we all love to hate Jews.
Yeah. You saw Dave Chappelle's thing where he was like, a sentence is gonna, turn a certain way when it starts with these two words. The Jews.
Or Kanye West.
Right, yeah.
They froze all my assets. Like, no shit, bitch.
The Jews.
Bite the hand.
Yeah, you can't bite the hand that feeds you. You bit the in Madagascar, like you bit the hand, Marty. You bit the hand.
Hey, it wouldn't be a normal episode without a children's movie reference.
Dude, I love Madagascar. Madagascar.
All hail the New York Giants.
Yeah, no, dude. Sacha Baron Cohen is so funny, and like his accent in that, it's so unique. He's so good at
I
that.
always forget that's him.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's just so unique. Like it's kind of Jamaican. It's kind of like African. It's kind of just like its own thing. Like I don't. He's so good at that.
Yeah, I know, for real.
He is so good at that.
Concurred.
Yep. Well, it's really late now, and I think I need to go to sleep.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, this was a fun one.
Funny Dunny.
Yep. Good night.
Night.